Welcome back, folks, from the 1 hour break, or however long it was. I hope you enjoyed seeing Rebel smurfing in ARAMs. I didn't. I had to hear a lot of screaming. But the screaming will now end, or who knows. I'm sure 𝘀cie will try to prove me wrong on that one. But we're getting ready to jump on into our second series of the day. 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 taking on Team 𝘂𝗀𝗃. Rebel, I mean, it's 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀, so I've got to go to you first because it's your boy 𝘀𝗀 playing.
Yeah, it's a 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 team who's coming off of last week with one less win than I think they would have wanted, because they walked out obviously with a loss against SBTC, which is funny because SBTC also lost against 𝘀𝗀_𝘀𝗀, who lost to Saigon. So there's currently this little like lovers triangle going on between those three teams.
Circle of suck.
Yes, very, very bad times here for VCS fans everywhere. But hopefully they can rebound today with a nice win against Team 𝘂𝗀𝗃 before they reach the back half of their schedule, which has basically the entire top half of the entire Rift.
Now, 𝘀𝗀, going over to you, Team 𝘂𝗀𝗃, they didn't have a great week one. They were able to pick up a win against Flash, but they lost to Cerberus, they lost to SBTC. What do you think they can show against 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀, or potentially a struggling 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀?
Honestly, what I'm hoping for Team 𝘂𝗀𝗃 here is to show us how to be graceful in defeat. I don't think... I'm going to be honest, they don't have a chance. I think if 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 turn up in any kind of form, Team 𝘂𝗀𝗃 does not match up well against them. Not only do I think they're potentially a much worse team, I also think that they also have a uniquely bad matchup against 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀. They're outclassed in most roles. I don't have much hope for Team 𝘂𝗀𝗃.
Now, I just went over and looked at my predictions, and for some reason I've done 2-1 for Team 𝘂𝗀𝗃 to win. I have no idea what I was smoking when I decided to make that, but there we go. I guess I'm going to be wrong again. Rebel, what do you think is essentially going to be critical to this matchup? Who do you think is being standout for Team 𝘂𝗀𝗃 and could be a way for them to, in 𝘀𝗀's very eloquent words, lose gracefully?
Pretty much the only person that I would want to put faith into in this team is 𝘀𝘀ie, who has had some solid performances, albeit to no avail, because unfortunately the team just hasn't had that much success for the most part. DNK has had moments in the past. Obviously, we don't know. I think I saw something about Simon maybe playing today as opposed to Nagia,
Yeah,
which is
possibly.
Whoo! Decision numero uno. That man has been stinking up something fierce in the top lane, but I'm happy to see that for Team 𝘂𝗀𝗃. I like that they're at least trying something, but of everything that they could actually make work today, I'm guessing 𝘀𝘀ie's pretty much the only thing they've got going for them that might be a win condition.
And 𝘀𝗀, I'm looking a little bit towards this mid lane matchup because as much as Rebel likes to hype up 𝘀𝗀ie, he's not the best in the VCS when it comes to farming, but maybe against 𝘂𝗀𝗃, this is a chance for him to improve those statistics.
I mean, I think in the straight up 1v1 pure mid lane matchup, I think 𝘂𝗀𝗃 can actually do fine based on what we've seen. I don't think 𝘂𝗀𝗃 has been weak. If Team 𝘂𝗀𝗃 plays Parquet, then yeah, 𝘀𝗀𝗃 gets to go plus 50 CS, but I don't think they're going to do that. They should play 𝘂𝗀𝗃, and I think 𝘂𝗀𝗃 is fine. The thing that 𝘀𝗀𝗃 can do that will give 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 such a big edge is he's just going to leave. He doesn't care. He is a bad laner. That CS stat is not just a misnomer. He is a bad laner. But part of the reason his CS is so bad is he looks at the other mid laner and goes, "You're better than me. I'm not going to play mid lane," and just leaves.
I need to actually know, because I'm pretty sure you were on the series yesterday, Mr. 𝘀𝗀𝗃. Can you tell me what Levi's CS per minute was? Roughly.
I don't
listen to the stats guy.
I'm not really sure.
The one
I don't think
time
it was
I need a
particularly
stat.
high.
The one okay, so then
I
think
will
we're
get it for you, just for you, Rebel.
Okay, okay, cool. Eventually that'll come about. But I mean, as long as it wasn't exorbitantly high, that means that he has not been reaching through the 5th dimension to snag CS out of 𝘀𝗀𝗃's pocket. So today, potentially, we might not see too bad of an issue. Even if it is against 𝘂𝗀𝗃, I think we'll be okay. As long as 𝘀𝗀𝗃, or as long as Levi didn't have like 9 CS per minute yesterday or something like that.
This is going to take a long time to get the stat.
Then just don't. We'll just say 𝘀𝗀𝗃's a god and 𝘂𝗀𝗃's a chump. How about that?
I'm okay with that. I'll take it.
Okay, both analysts in agreement on that. That's the important part. maybe. Who knows? Okay, so
I mean, I don't think Froggy's going to be the focal point in this matchup. Honestly, I'm more looking at 𝘀𝗃𝗃. Simon is definitely an improvement over 𝘁𝗃cie, but Simon is not some secret weapon that they've been holding on to. 𝘀𝗃𝗃 should still kind of make them wear the clown shoes.
okay. You put me in a tricky situation because essentially all I've heard is Team Secret going to get rolled, and I don't really know where to go from this one. Let's talk a little bit about the bot lane, because we said that Eddie is kind of maybe the shimmering light for Team Secret against Shogun and 𝘀𝗃cie. Maybe it will be 𝘀𝗃𝗃 playing. We'll have to see. But how do you think Eddie can fare into either of those two potential bot lanes? Rebel, I'll go to you first.
I think they would prefer 𝘀𝗃𝗃 only for the fact that if they can do that, that would mean that they can actually put pressure elsewhere on the map with their support. If they leave 𝘀𝗃𝗃 in the bot lane up against Eddie, Eddie should be fine on his own for the most part in that one-on-one type situation, or even in the 2-on-2 if they happen to leave double down there. And they're okay with that. I think they're fine with that as long as they can patchwork together a top side. Eddie can make it to late game. But if Shogun is in the game, that means either A, he's playing something mean in the late game like an Aphelios, which he's gone crazy on, or playing something aggressive like Misfortune that you can, command quite a bit of attention with on the bottom side, and all of a sudden they're getting collapsed on in the bottom lane is the potential here. So I think either way, Saigon's probably playing Shogun, but that's not who you'd rather play against. You'd rather play against 𝘀𝗃𝗃 if you're Eddie.
Fair enough. Now I saw something that 𝘀𝗃𝗃 you like to do in the podcast, so I thought I'd try to bring it into the live stream. Is it 10-50-90? Is that what you do on the podcast?
We do.
We do. So I want a 10-50-90 from you.
For this series? Oh, wow. That's
this series or this game.
Okay, 10% Secret win the series.
Right.
50% they take a game.
Okay.
90% 𝘀𝗃𝗃 absolutely dominates the top lane.
Rebel?
I'm going to say 90% we get a new unique champion in the mid lane from Froggy. 50% 𝗀𝗃𝗃 picks 𝘀𝗃𝗃. And 10% Team Secret take a game.
Okay, I like this. So 𝘀𝗃𝗃 is you're a little bit more on the Team Secret train than Rebel is. Rebel just being a big doubter here.
Let me rephrase my 50% to
Sure.
50% 𝘀𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃 lose a game. I don't think Team Secret's going to win it. I think 𝘀𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃, they have looked a little bit shaky. They haven't looked incredible. Definitely not the form we expect out of them based on spring. So they could lose a game. I can see it happening, but I just, using my analytical mind, there shouldn't be a way for Team Secret to win. They're just outclassed in every role.
Okay, now Rebel, you spoke a little bit about Froggy's champ pool and maybe seeing a new champion for Froggy. We are into picks and bans, but I'll throw it to you with a question of: do you know how many unique champions Froggy has played so far this split?
This split?
Probably
This
not that many.
So winter split.
Yes,
4.
we are in winter split. 5.
5.
Good guess. Anyway, to the draft. Lucian, first pick up by 𝘀𝗃𝗃𝗃.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look at the answer back immediately. I mean, if you were going to let Eddie carry, which is something we identified, giving them Xayah Nami is a good way to do it.
I agree. It's something powerful. I'm surprised this combo didn't actually pop up for the most part, only because Xayah kept getting taken off the board for quite a bit. But if you're going to be an ability-based Xayah, like, this is one of the better champions to actually put alongside you. Now, it does, of course, open up the possibility of this happening, which was defended against in our previous series when we had the Nami broken up across from the Lucian. Lucian's always really down to just kind of clown in the bottom lane with an aggressive support to attack the Nami as fast as possible. Same with the Xayah. So in this case, I mean, it's known by 𝘀𝗃𝗃, and I like this so much more than watching him on champions that are boring, like the Yuumi, where like his skill expression doesn't get to pop out that much. Instead, now he gets to be this aggressive playmaking Leona to be able to attack this bottom lane against what is perhaps the one win condition that TS can set out for themselves.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely can be set up. I agree. I like seeing 𝘀cie able to be unlocked from the lane and go roam around. He is the best roaming support that the VCS has, or at least he was in the spring split. He was pretty preeminent with that. He's why I thought he should have won Rookie of the Split, in my opinion. In fact, he might have. Vex being taken away makes sense. That's been super high priority for every team, and we're looking like it might be a real mid lane push, mid lane pinch, I should say.
We haven't gotten
that yet. Oh, sorry. Continue, Rob.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I was going to say we haven't seen that Udyr just yet. We talked about the mid lane champ pool as well. A few champions taken away from 𝘀gie. That's Syndra and the Zoe.
Yeah, making sure to get rid of those. It's funny because if you recall last split, 𝘀gie wasn't really known as the control mage player to the point where they were using Ruby or RBY, my apologies, as like a pinch hitting mid laner with like random control mages. And I'm happy to see that like they're at least respect banning some of the stuff he might have been working on during the offseason. I mean, there were 6 months in between what were our spring split and what is now the winter split coming out here. And so I'm happy to see that like things like the Zoe and things like the Syndra, things like the Orianna have found their way into 𝘀gie's champion pool. Although, again, I fell in love with him because of the originally the Rammus mid lane was hilarious to hear about, and then obviously like the Kayn maybe fall in love. His Yone was crazy beyond belief. Things that like I fell in love with when it came to his skill expression out of the mid lane.
This Kennen lock-in, I really don't like it on 𝘀smed. I understand that it is a strong pick. He is good at it. But I don't know, there's just something about 𝘀smed on Kennen that it just never seems to work out. I really like seeing him on more playmakers. And the 𝘀𝗶𝗆 to round it out. Okay, 𝘀𝑔𝑔𝑖𝗀 has been activated. At least it's not solo AP 𝘀𝗶𝗆.
Yeah, that is quite nice. It's also a unique pick for him, so check that off the nice little list. It's funny because when he was bad at the game, actually, I mean, before when he played on the team, right, and he was playing the mid lane, this was oftentimes the patchwork champion for him when he wasn't having a good time, when he wasn't kind of the take over the map, actually win mid lane, do something mid laner. When he was the I'm going to go down 40 CS by 10 minutes into the game mid laner, they were like, all right, if you're going to go down 40 CS, you might as well just perma roam on 𝘀𝗶𝗆. And so that was kind of the solution. And now you paired it with Jarvan and you paired it with AoE from 𝘀smed. And 𝘀smed actually had a lot of this champion. When I first started back at the end of 2020, 𝘀smed was basically playing this, and then he was playing Wukong, and that was pretty much it. And it was only 2 champions, and he was good at them, but he wasn't winning games on them. So I agree with that sentiment that I'm not in love with 𝘀smed's Kennen, but against Simon, against this Gnar, I think it'll be okay.
Now, Rebel, you've already got your 50 slotted in or was it the 90 of 𝘀gie playing a new champion, which he hasn't done so far this split, and that is in the form of the 𝘀𝗶𝗆. But, 𝘀aryx, thoughts on the draft? Because for me, that 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗄 teamfight comp looks beautiful.
Yeah, the comp is really good. I do think Team Secret have gotten away with a very good draft of their own, though. I do think Eddie is enabled to really put the hurt on Shogun. I think this does also keep 𝘀kie in lane, potentially, with the pushing power of that Xayah. We'll have to see how it goes. 𝘀𝗶𝗆 has not impressed me this split. I'm still going to predict the Buffalo, though.
Rebel?
Yeah, I'm going to predict the Buffalo. Mostly off the back of...
Buffalo.
The Buffalo, yeah. Mostly off the back of, I think Team Secret's composition is rather good, but it is much harder to play. And so against a team that is as good as 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗄, this is going to be really, really difficult to pull off.
Okay, and with that, we are jumping on into game. We'll be hearing from 𝘀aryx again at the end of this game to break down how Game 1 goes. But we're now going to see how Game 1 goes. And Rebel, I do have to agree with you. I think the Team Secret comp is hard to execute, might be the word. As I'm on cam. Hello, everyone. I stand up, and I thought we were in game, so I thought we were off camera, but no, I just randomly get out. The viewers are probably thinking, oh no, what is 𝘀cie doing? I mistimed it. 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗄 won't mistime this mini invade onto DNK, though.
Yeah, just looking for a little bit of possibility to jump in on DK or DNK and maybe look for a ward just to track a little bit, but obviously shoved out, wasn't able to get anything significant. I don't know if DNK was able to track that kind of thing just to make sure that they know the ward isn't down, the vision's not there, and they're not going to know really anything about the starting position. They responded with a ward on the other side. They actually spotted out BJ on his way to that red buff. So they're going to spot that he's here. They're not going to see that there is a bit of a kill rush in the river, kind of planning the demise with Shogun and Taki, waiting to see if Eddie and V1 will take the bait and head through the river rather than going back through the lane, but they will not.
They won't, and we are seeing both junglers starting on the bottom side of the map, so we might see some nice aggression towards the top side, and where we already spoke about 𝘁𝗔𝗃. We thought maybe he'd be playing into Nagir, but it is Simon on the Gnar. How does this matchup actually go for the Kennen?
Again, in the earlier stages, a lot of matchups for Kennen usually go, he pokes them down, doesn't do that much damage unless he goes for a full all-in. When it comes to Gnar in the melee or the range versus range matchup, he feels really good. Now, obviously, like the Gnar ultimate changes everything, and the Mega Gnar always changes pretty much every single matchup, but Kennen usually does fine. This is actually like an old school response to the Gnar, specifically because of the trading power that the champion brings. In the modern day, I feel as though what we really are actually looking for is wave clear advantage, just to try to get out and about on the map, because these aren't champions that you're like, you're not ganking for the Gnar so that the Gnar takes over the side lane anymore. This isn't like the old school like Blade of the Rune King Rage Blade Gnar. And the Kennen's not going to run for the exact same thing. This is like Blade of the Rune King type Kennen. These are both very teamfight oriented type champions that are really only playing the top lane to make sure that they have a source of income here. And that's, I think, the identity that they're going to stick with. Outside of maybe a couple of ganks from DNK and from BJ, really only to break out their top laner more than to try to set them ahead.
What we're seeing in the mid lane, 𝘀𝗀 and 𝘀𝗀 duking it out somewhat, and 𝘀𝗀 going to be forced to drop a bit of an early back, pick up himself a Sapphire Crystal, but that is also not the most efficient back we have ever seen from Arise, but it's what 𝘀𝗀's going to have to take.
It was very quick trading coming out from 𝘀𝗀. If this allowed him to get a free back off, which is quite nice, that means that he comes back with Predator Boots, which is, that's really good. He has Dark Seal, which is at least a little bit of a strange quality to this Galio mid lane, as most of them will go for something sustained. You'll either go Corrupting or you'll go for the Doran's Ring. But going for the Dark Seal here is really, really just interesting, because he went refillable as well now, so he's going to have that in the back pocket. And with the Predator buy, he is just monstrously more in control than what we have from 𝘀𝗀 at the moment. As 𝘁𝗔𝗃, did he miss that E? I don't think he did. Okay, yeah, he was able to get away.
I'm not sure. I know DNK was on a wall, but it doesn't matter because 𝘀𝗀 is on his way over there. There's a teleport coming through. 𝘀𝗀's going to eat the tower shots. Great flash from 𝘀𝗀. And the kill will go the way of DNK, but 𝘀𝗀 in for the rescue will pull one back for 𝘁𝗀𝗶𝗹𝘀.
Not ideal right there. It was actually a rather fast timer from 𝘀𝗀 that wasn't tracked, I don't think, properly from the side of 𝘁𝗀𝗶𝗹𝘀, where 𝘀𝗀 went back and got this kind of really bad mana crystal, which isn't going to be that helpful for the laning phase for the most part. It does help him with his wave clear, but the biggest thing is that 𝘀𝗀's back, I think, got delayed slightly longer than he wanted it to, and so he was off that mid wave a lot longer than would have been necessary. Now 𝘀𝗀's going to feel the effects of that, unfortunately.
Yep, and he might get taunted.
Wow.
He will get taunted, and he will get killed. 𝘀𝗀 picks up his second kill of the game, and 𝘀𝗀 is doing rather well for himself. As DNK now looking towards the bottom side of the map. The engage onto 𝘁𝗀, and even through the exhaust, DNK is able to pick up the kill.
So right there, it was the topside pressure being put on by the side of DNK, responded to by 𝘀𝗀. It kind of left open this void in the mid lane, where 𝘀𝗀 had shoved out, backed, got a Ruby Crystal or a Sapphire Crystal, came back to the laning phase just to make sure that he was in proper position to be able to have that wave bounce off the tower and force 𝘀𝗀 back. And then he walks back greedily to mid lane without finding out where BJ is, and they're like, okay, and 𝘀𝗀's just absent-mindedly shoving this wave without flash. And I don't know if he burnt flash on that exchange in the top lane. That feels like a lot. Like, to jump your wave on a bad back timer, then run top lane, use your flash and your teleport during this process, and then to come back and greed that hard is just kind of rough decision-making from 𝘀𝗀. We know he is at least a substitute to start in this split, only because, again, it's been a very, very bad start from the likes of 𝘁𝗀. But that right there was very indicative of the fact that, again, he doesn't have a ton of competitive experience the way that maybe 𝘁𝗀 might.
𝘁𝗀𝗃 is a rookie, let's not forget, though most of Team Secret are rookies. In fact, this is probably the matchup between the two teams with the most rookies on their respective teams. For the side of 𝘁𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀 is 𝘁𝗃 and 𝘀𝗀𝗃. I'm just
No,
double
only
checking that
𝘁𝗀𝗃.
one.
Only 𝘁𝗀𝗃's a rookie.
Okay, only 𝘁𝗀𝗃 is a rookie. I'm talking about the whole split, the whole year. Because if I do recall correctly, 𝘁𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 brought in a fair few of their players at the start of the year.
That's right. Yeah, 𝘁𝗀𝗃, 𝘁𝗀, 𝘁𝗃, and 𝘁𝗃 were all rookies. That team also consisted of 𝘀𝗀𝗃 back in 2020, but they brought him up in 2020 rather than anywhere else.
Got to play on the top side of the map. Simon forced to dash out. Supreme display of talent. 𝘁𝗃 is just going to get run down. He almost gets a kill back onto Simon. Flag and drag flashed away by Simon. And 𝘁𝗃𝗃 won't be able to pull one back for the Buffaloes.
And a nice punishment off the back of, the flash coming down, but here comes 𝘀𝗀𝗃.
Here comes 𝘀𝗀𝗃 indeed. Wins the war. Simon gets the evolution, you could call it, into Mega Gnar. Gets some tankiness. And still no one dies from Team Secret.
Yeah, top lane, I mean, the punishment had come out. There was a flash that had been burnt very early from 𝘁𝗃 during the course of the previous gank underneath of the tower that almost saved his life, but punished again because they're out in the middle of the lane. And right there, Simon and 𝘁𝗃 able to link up. It has been actually a rough laning phase for Simon so far on the likes of this Gnar. He's down 15 CS, but being salvaged a little bit by 𝘁𝗃's propensity to head up towards this top side and try to punish the cannon as much as possible just to get back and make sure that the Gnar isn't in a really bad place. And here 𝘁𝗃, again, he's playing aggressively. He's playing on the front foot. He has a bunch of damage. Unfortunately, it's not enough to kill Simon, and 𝘁𝗃 runs away in an attempt to get away from 𝘁𝗃. Now, the roaming pressure from 𝘀𝗀𝗃 is here to come up and to try, because level 6 isn't there from the likes of 𝘁𝗃, they can't really set up a perfect combination of ultimates, and they decide not to dive, which was a little curious to me. I know the Gnar ultimate was there, but as soon as that was down, I felt like there was a possibility to maybe go looking for at least one, if not both kills, even if it shades for only one. But they play it safe. They make sure they burn the flash off of Simon. There's repeat ganks to happen. Everything could come in their fashion or come in their way eventually. They just decide to play a bit more patiently.
Okay, 𝘁𝗃 going on to 𝘀𝗀𝗃 does not have the supreme display of talent available, but 𝘁𝗀𝗃 does have the root. Flag and drag is sidestepped so nicely from 𝘁𝗃. 𝘁𝗃 will be able to pull one back, but it is a 1-for-1. Meanwhile, in the bottom side of the map, 𝘁𝗀 getting engaged on the Feather Storm. He can't get the Flash Blade Caller off, and 𝘁𝗀 will survive, and 𝘁𝗀 will be able to pick up the kill as Eddie dies.
Interesting, across the map. You saw that 𝘀𝗀𝗃 traded his life for 𝘁𝗃, who finds yet another gank. Just been everywhere on this 𝘁𝗏 on the top side of the map, hoping that their bottom lane is going to be in a decent place to make sure that there isn't going to be this massive amount of pressure. We talked about this with Eddie being on something self-sufficient or something with his bot laner that's going to be self-sufficient, and then attacking as much as possible on the other side of the map to try to draw away pressure. That's what 𝘁𝗃 has been up to. But here, punishment, actually a massive shutdown goes into the pockets of 𝘁𝗃. 𝘀𝗀𝗃's been able to have an interference across the map so far, which they haven't been able to prevent, and now all of a sudden bot lane starts to fall to pieces. I didn't mind this from 𝘁𝗃, but 𝘁𝗀 is so far out from this play just to begin things that it's really, really rough. And again, it's giving down over like what is a 600 gold bounty to a 𝘁𝗀𝗃. Not a great idea for the early parts of the game.
And this is the play on the bottom side of the map. 𝘁𝗀 exhausted down, but Eddie, he tried to get the Blade Caller and then flash so that all the feathers would go through 𝘁𝗀, but unsuccessful in his attempts to do so. 𝘁𝗃 able to secure the first Rift Herald of the game, and the gold is very even, and I think the first 10 minutes of this game have been much closer than at least I was expecting.
I mean, it's been a lot more active for 𝘁𝗃. When we walked in and watched this team kind of, develop itself when the roster was announced and things of that sort, our expectation was 𝘁𝗃 was going to have to do a fair amount of heavy lifting. We were hoping 𝘁𝗃 was going to do some development to some extent, and we were hoping that Eddie was going to be step into a solid role, something that he could actually work on. And that has been the case in two parts. Did
you see 𝘁𝗃 just like going round and round? Like the movement speed was ridiculous.
That would be the Predator. That would be the Predator. Yeah, he's popping it as fast as possible. Pretty crazy what assassins can do these days.
They can go fast and they can kill you. And 𝘁𝗃, he's still feeling himself. This has been such an aggressive play from 𝘁𝗃. Yeah, burns the teleport from 𝘀𝗀𝗃. 𝘁𝗃 walks away and says, "Thank you for giving Jerry free CS and plates in the mid lane."
He's not giving him plates quite yet. There's one down from the combined, I think, wave clear over all things said and done. I don't know if you picked it up right there, but it is at least helping Jerry out to quite a bit of an extent, because 𝘀𝗀𝗃 has had to defend 𝘁𝗃 a number of times. Now, The problem with TS's strategy, of course, is that, again, when you think about how easy it is to execute a full 5-on-5 composition, if this Kennen gets out of lane unscathed, that's a terrifying prospect. You throw that together with a Galio and a Jarvan, things get a lot worse. Things get a lot worse. And yes, of course, you've got like the supreme display of talent. You got the Gnar ultimate. You got, Jerry has plenty of damage. You got a big ultimate from Eddie to be able to use the feather pull and do quite a bit of damage like that. Actually going for the crit build as well with the lethal tempo rather than going for the lethality and on hit type build, with what would the feather procs be and things of that sort with Airy and whatnot. So there is really good consistent dividing DPS to actually work from those two specifically. But that burst fight, that immediate kind of interaction between both 𝗀𝗀, 𝘀𝗀, and then 𝘁𝗀 on top of it is going to be horrible for TS to have to deal with if they don't shut down the Kennen pretty quickly inside of this game.
Here's a question. If you've ganked 𝘁𝗀 1 time, and twice, and 3 times, just gank him a 4th time. DNK gets another kill onto 𝘁𝗀, and 𝘁𝗀 picks up his 3rd death of the game. He's not being allowed to play League of Legends right now.
It's very interesting because they've been able to find, okay, that's what I was waiting for. I was like, okay, where's 𝗀𝗀's response? Because 𝗀𝗀 has I don't think kept up nearly as much as DNK has in terms of the pressure that they've had around the map. He's got the Rift Herald, he's had the neutral objective, he got the bottom lane, they went to the Dragon, we're able to get that going. But so far, 𝗀𝗀 has been relatively quiet compared to the Qiyana. Really, it has been 𝘀𝗀 whose interaction has felt a lot more presence across the map for the most part than anything else. Now, if you're Team Secret, you want to walk into the later stages, again, with your harder to execute type composition, ideally with a gold advantage, and again, you also eventually want to end up on probably 2-2 Drakes at absolute worst, just to make sure things are going to be okay. This is that replay of topside, where 𝘁𝗀, he just finds himself in a situation where he's so close to a solo kill, but Simon is just baiting him to make sure that DNK gets everything all together. He's going to do it again.
He is going to do it again, and don't forget the previous play was after 𝘁𝗀 teleported into lane, so he doesn't have TP available. DNK waiting to go in. He's got the supreme display of talent available, and 𝘁𝗀 has no idea until the engage. But we switch over to the mid lane. Jerry getting taken down by 𝘀𝗀 as a big roam comes through from 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 with 4 members in the mid lane, and Team Secret are going to use this opportunity to push in the top side of the map.
And it's humongous, actually. I really like this from 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀. They realize that there's so much pressure being put onto 𝘁𝗁 as much as possible. All 𝘁𝗁 has to do is absorb that pressure, and they get to overload on mid for free. They have 3 full members here. A 4th full member was roaming about. And then, of course, the coverage actually just came through from 𝘀𝗀, it looked like, onto the top side of the map to make sure nothing crazy was going to happen there. But that means that all this pressure gets thrown on, and that's exactly what happened. They move multiple members in. They attack Jerry. They're able to get the ultimate down from the Galio to get the nice stun, and that's going to be kill onto him while simultaneously being able to throw down the Rift Herald and pull quite a few plates. They ended up getting the first tower of the game out of the mid lane tower, which is pretty hard to break most of the time, all off the back of, again, TS have finally got caught themselves in a bit of a rough spot by continuing to gank 𝘁𝗁 over and over again. Finally, Saigon were able to make an adaptation and say, okay, if you're going to stand up there, we're just going to go attack elsewhere on the map.
And this is the proactivity that we wanted to be seeing from 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀, especially when you've got 𝘀𝗀 on this Galio with a hero's entrance. We hadn't seen any plays using that ultimate until the one we just saw in the mid lane. So good to see 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 starting to make some plays themselves. So now they find themselves with a 500 gold lead, give or take. We've got a Drake spawning in just under 2 minutes time, and Team Secret and 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 both switching their mid and bottom laners around.
Nothing too crazy about that one. 𝘀𝗀 just going to absorb as much as he can. The problem is now you do open up at least one additional lane for DNK to potentially gank, just because, again, the Galio isn't the most well-protected member of the team. You can see the Predator has been propped by 𝘀𝗀 just because he anticipates something happening here. DNK is going to catch him with a stun at least.
Aqua Prison, supreme display of talent, tidal wave, everything down, flag and drag, and it forces DNK to walk back into tower. He takes a tower shot, and it is a shutdown going over to 𝗀𝗀, and I think that means it's an unsuccessful play for Team Secret.
It is really close to actually being kind of completely turned on its head just by 𝘀𝗀 alone. If he hits that Justice Punch and is able to full combo, I think that eventually DNK just dies to him instead. But yeah, especially because 𝗀𝗀 was able to pick it up, having this like small CS advantage, but also the 2 kills are able to keep him very relevant in this game. I still haven't seen too much from him though. This is the one problem. 𝗀𝗀 has felt like he's been so focused on making sure that the neutral objectives are heading in the favor of Saigon, which by all means, that's not a terrible strategy. We just feel like we haven't had the effect from him that we normally get inside of a game that we expect from the likes of BJ. So here, I'm hoping that this translates to something very good in the later stages for the side of Saigon by just like focusing as much as possible the objectives. This is the second Rift Herald. They're likely going to be able to set up for second Dragon, and if they're not, they're going to make sure that this dive on the top side works very well.
Someone playing it defensively, 4 members of Saigon Buffalo on the top side of the map, but DNK is here, as is 𝘀𝘀𝗋. We're seeing 𝘀𝘀ie maybe pathing up towards the top side as well. Drake is up, though, in a few seconds' time, and both, well, DNK on the top side of the map, BJ already making his way over to the Drake pit.
It seems like both teams are actually going to head to roughly in that area. The one big problem is, again, I think Saigon just burnt all of the tempo that they had on the map by just shifting immediately into bottom side, maybe trying to catch out 𝘁𝑺 because they say, okay, we're anticipating what is a shift. We don't know where they're going to be, but they obviously are on this wave using that Rift Herald to crash the tower. So they're resetting for Dragon because they understand there could be a play to actually come in the future. And BJ just runs into DNK head first. He's got a level on DNK, which is a little crazy, but you know, they just end up spotting each other. They're on either side of the play. We're waiting to see if Saigon are going to try to muscle their way in. They had the mid push taken back by Shogun, which was really good. I was worried the 𝘀𝘀 was going to be able to snag that one away. As Team Secret seemed to be driven away from the Dragon for the moment before the supreme display of talent is ready.
Simon's got the Mega Gnar ready to go in, and this is going to be a big engage. This is important. Solar Flow to Simon, and the ult's not going to do much. Hero's entrance comes through, and Simon will fall. It's just 1 kill going the way of Saigon Buffalo. DNK on the back foot as 𝘁𝑺 just zoning him out of the river. Saigon Buffalo, they're going to push in the mid lane. They have the Rift Herald available, and probably could just drop that down and turn their attention back towards the Drake.
Seems like they're just going to go for the Drake to begin with first. I think because they think they can go to fight out of the side of Team Secret. If Team Secret gets a little too antsy here and they end up walking in trying to take this Dragon away from the side of Saigon Buffalo, that means that they could actually capture quite a bit more with the Rift Herald than if they were to pop it down first. Because at best, that's going to get charged of maybe a whole tower, but that's about it. Whereas if one team fight into a Rift Herald after a Dragon shift is going to mean so much more. But of course, Team Secret doesn't full take the bait. They end up fishing for a little bit of a fight on the back end of the Dragon, but that's not actually going to end up accomplishing anything. So now the 1,000 gold lead, the 2 Dragons, and in a comfortable position to be in for the side of Saigon Buffalo, who again, they are rocking the much easier to execute composition. The Galio's doing well, the Jarvan's doing well. You can see here, I like what you said, that the Simon, the thought here with the Gnar ultimate is humongous. I'm really not sure how he found nobody but 𝘀𝘀ie with that ultimate. It's a very unfortunate situation, but well played from the combination of 𝘀𝘀ie not only not dying, but also 𝘀𝑀 being able to use that ultimate to help zone them out of that big choke point that they are trying to infringe towards, and that led to the death of Simon and the taking of that second Dragon.
Now, it's a 1,000 goal lead for the side of Saigon Buffalo, and we talked about how good this Buffalo composition is towards the team fighting. Kennen, Jarvan, Leona, 𝘀𝘀ie, all of this, throw in a 𝘀𝑀 on top. It's phenomenal, but I want to talk about Team Secret because they've got a Rise, they've got a Gnar. Surely they can beat Saigon Buffalo when they play the split push game.
I'm holding this thought because I know that it's not going to last. Okay, we're all right.
Well.
We're okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't going to lead to anything humongous because they've got 3 members there waiting. It's a matter of, I don't believe that the Gnar eventually, I guess how I see it is that the Gnar is always going to be on either the positive or the negative end of a neutral lane for the most part. There's never going to be a situation in which a Gnar is probably going to be just like straight up out pushing 𝘁𝑚ed unless 𝘁𝑚ed just like leaves altogether. Now the Rise is a different story because you have basically no response to the Rise outside of the Galio, which is an okay idea from 𝘀𝑀e to just be able to respond to waves, but eventually that wave clear from 𝘁𝑺 is just going to get too big. So yeah, I think 4-1 is probably going to end up being the situation they find themselves in most, but then the fear is like, okay, if 𝘁𝑚ed has teleport and or if 𝘀𝑀e has like Predator, ultimate, teleport, whatever it might be, it's just going to be just as easy for him to get back to the fight as well as something like 𝘁𝑺 would on this teleport Rise or whatever the situation might find itself to be.
Rift Herald charge on the top side of the map. Teleport coming through. That's going to be a top tower down. Teleport coming in for the side of Team Secret. Tidal Wave will be able to find a knock-up. Supreme display of talent. 2-man 𝘁𝑇. Justice Punch are going to land on 𝘁𝑺. DNK over the wall and out. Nobody dies. Another potential turnaround. BJ, Flag and Drag not going to be able to find a target. And this means DNK can turn it around. And it will be a shutdown for DNK as well. Realm Warp coming through, but it is just to scare the side of 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀. Team Secret get a kill.
And here we go. We see what are the beginning ramblings of a team fight to come out here from the side of 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀, where they're looking for a big engagement. They can't quite find one because Froggy's ultimate, I think, was not able to be used right here. Yeah, I like that they're just leaving this as fast as possible. Yes, you've got a Xayah. Yes, you've got an R. Yes, you've got a Ryze. They're fantastic champions for taking a Baron very quickly, but you do not want to pigeonhole yourselves into a small space for the combination of a Leona, a Galio, all of these champions who are able to take advantage of that super easily. So forethought from Team Secret, not going to find themselves boxed like a fish into the Baron pit, instead just going to walk away to the best of their abilities, and they're going to take what they can get with the mid tower on the backside.
And here's a replay of this fight in the top side of the map because, well, Simon just gets popped straight away.
I think he does. He took quite a bit of damage, and 𝘁𝗲 was able to find him. The problem is that, like, Froggy is a fair amount of the initial engagement outside of 𝘁𝗀. Those two combined need to be able to find things, and 𝗀𝗀, for some reason, was just, like, clearing space on the bottom of that. I don't know, maybe looking for something? I'm not sure exactly what he was doing down there for the most part. He might have been forced out, but then he got forced directly into DNK, which is the big problem. Running face first into that assassin is not going to be helpful for your.
Sorry, I was thinking of it the other way around because 𝗀𝗀 thought. I think 𝗀𝗀 just thought, you know what, I can chase down DNK, and it's like, no, that's DNK with 6 kills. You don't beat DNK right now.
It's tough to say exactly what the intention was behind the movement, but what we know is that basically because your two primary modes of engage are gone, especially your two modes of primary frontline engage, given the way that that 𝗀𝗀 has kind of built right here with the Leona being able to be very tanky, especially with the Randuins having been built first item. Those two frontliners, when they don't have much CC to follow up with you and you don't have any damage around you, it's much more difficult here for 𝗀𝗀 to try to find something aggressive the way that he did when he ran for his face first into DNK. And this has led to a position where both teams are relatively even. I'm still looking for a solid combination of the Kennen ultimate with the Galio ultimate, with the Jarvan ultimate, all of that kind of put into one specific place. As Team Secret's been able to hold on relatively well so far.
And regarding that 𝘁𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 combo, because obviously that is what 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 have to play towards, that's what they've drafted for. I feel like there's a lot of disengaged tools that Team Secret have somewhat available to them. You've got the Supreme Display of Talon, DNK has a lot of mobility in general, and then on top of that, you've got the Featherstorm, you've got the Tidal Wave. How difficult does it make that, or how difficult does that make it for 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 to get this ideal engage off?
I mean, the other biggest thing is that, like, when you have an ultimate that's predicated on its ultimate actually going off, the question is, what is your backbone of your composition? And in this particular case, it's actually the Lucian, who is the backbone of the composition. So it's a question of, okay, if you don't have that, Froggy! Oh, where's the taunt?
The timing from 𝘁𝗀.
That was a really good ultimate from 𝘁𝗀, but like I was figuring a taunt would actually come out and stop that from happening, but instead he went for the Everfrost, which was interesting to me just because it wasn't guaranteed by any standard. You saw right there, it was just a little bit too slow to catch them out. But you can see, I think Saigon wants to fish for very large fights. They want to fish as best as possible to make sure that they're getting very high quality 5-on-5 type beats where this big AoE is going to be useful. But like I said, to answer your question, in one whole statement. Again, Lucian is the big one I'm staring at as the potential option against anybody who's able to deny the immediate kind of play. And it's a question of, can Shogun actually do that type of damage? Well, normally I'd say no, but again, when you have Kennen, Jarvan, and Galio, there's supplementary damage that's going to be there. That's not just going to be your marksman. So Lucian can carry a fight in this particular case, especially if all those defenses, like you said, were burned by Eddie ahead of time.
Okay, well, nearly 25 minutes into the game, Team Secret narrowly ahead, 1.5k gold to boot. Now, that 4th Drake is going to be coming up soon, and that's a Cloud Drake, and it would be Cloud Soul for 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀. 𝘁𝗏 popping the ult and then having extra movement speed, Shogun popping the ult and having extra movement speed seems a little bit scary to me.
There are very good uses of this ultimate, especially because ultimate cooldown reduction is something you also have to consider. With 20% additional ultimate cooldown reduction, that means you can fish with the ultimate from Galio, with the Cataclysm, with the ultimate from Kennen, things of that sort to be able to work with inside of team fights. So something else that has to be concerned from the side of TS. This is a point where maybe you have to think, how do we actually take a team fight, right? their biggest problem is gold disparity at the moment, because they've got 7 kills at a 20 CS advantage onto DNK right this moment, and no kills on any other member of the team. Yes, you have a very well-fed Xayah when it comes to farm. Yes, Jerry's been keeping up at least to some extent in terms of farm on this Ryze pick, but nothing is really strong enough. Nothing is really taken over outside of those aspects. So really, it is DNK and his ultimate that we're looking for most to have a big impact.
𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀 comes through in V1, just gets absolutely popped. Joey's going to fall as well. Supreme display of talent, finds a 4-man stun. Eddie over the wall, just dishing out the feathers, but is it enough? Simon teleporting in, joining into the fray. The 𝗀𝗊𝟎 is onto 2 Zhonya target. It's a good cleanse from Eddie, who's going to be able to find the kill onto 𝘀𝗀𝗆. It's a 2v3 scenario in Team Secret. Yes, they lost more members than 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀, but they were able to stop the Baron play, and it wasn't a good start to the fight for them either.
It was a kind of rough situation to be in, and somehow Simon and like you said, Eddie, during the course of that fight, were able to go relatively untouched, which is what kind of led to everything coming through. Without the ultimate, Simon is not afraid of Hosman in the slightest. You'd see him infringing upon his territory right there. But it's Saigon who were able to put together the scraps of a team fight. I will say losing 2 members does, it kind of sucks for the most part, because Eddie was able to snag both of those kills, I think, at the end of the fight. But if that means that they just have figured out what it is that they need to do, the crux of this composition. They need to figure out how to get onto Eddie. In this particular case, Eddie was positioned gorgeously to put down feathers pretty much across the board, no matter the situation. DNK's ultimate was surprisingly adequate to help set up Eddie onto 𝗀𝗀𝗆 after the Cataclysm went down. And so it's kind of this cooperation from the side of Team Secret that has been working so well for them.
Well, a decent fight for Team Secret, especially considering that it started off as a 4v5, and 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀, they weren't matching the split push from Simon, so they essentially said, okay, we've got to go to Baron. And Team Secret said, okay, we'll check it. They went for the fight. Simon eventually teleported in. And that could have gone a lot worse for 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀. Ends up coming off somewhat even, still 1,500 goals separating both sides. And with that Drake coming up in 1 minute, which could be such a huge factor if 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 are able to secure it.
I'm expecting a relatively large team fight here, just about any minute. Either around the next dragon, around the next Baron, whatever it might be. I have a feeling we're not going to get it around the exact dragon that we're looking at right this second. I instead feel as though they're going to be able to give up that dragon in exchange for something, whether it be the Baron or a fight around the Baron is up to the side of 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 as to which they would actually prefer here, because they've got complete control of the top river, and now they're going to be actually infringing into the territory of Team Secret just to try to get down some wards as much as possible, make sure that they've got the avenues covered to make sure that 𝘀𝗀𝗆's not going to be able to get over the kid. And they can also muscle away quite a bit of territory into the mid lane because there's more members here. They're ready to fight right now. It's all about getting this mid priority, making sure to use this kind of shallow vision. Yes, you can trade off of the dragon. I don't think Team Secret want that.
I'm just taking a quick look as well towards the wave in the bottom lane. It is slowly pushing now. Joey's just going to be on taking Drake duty by himself. And the rest of Team Secret, they have to deny this Baron. They have to try to win a 4v5 fight. But they don't need to because 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 are just retreating. So Joey's just picking up a free Drake here, Rebel.
Maybe the case. It's a difficult position to put yourself in if you're Saigon, only because the Ryze can be there in one teleport, one realm warp, whatever it might actually end up being. And so right there, Saigon, they say, we're not willing to take this. I talked about their patience a couple of times, where it was lacking sometimes, the previous splits. And while the patient game wasn't a good one for them...
Okay, 𝘀𝗀𝗆's just going on DNK! And DNK gets absolutely blown up. It's a fantastic pick that is all started from a 𝘀𝗆 Zenith Blade. And now 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀, they've got a smite, and Team Secret do not. If they want to win this fight, they have to get something huge. Jerry's going to teleport in for this play.
Simon needs to stack the Gnarbar immediately. That's pretty much the only way they can actually turn this fight, is to make sure that Eddie can put down feathers.
Okay, flag and drag, 𝗀𝗆𝗆, Cataclysm onto 2 members, slicing 𝘀𝗀𝗆. There's a flash from Jerry, but Jerry's taken down. Eddie forced to use a blade caller. Simon's still alive, going in. It's a 2-man Gnar ult, but nothing more. Now looking just to be able to get the kill onto Hasmet, and he does exactly that. But 2 members from the side of Team Secret fall for just 1. Now DNK back up in 5 seconds time, but I don't think Team Secret can now contest this Baron Nashor.
They don't have time really to do that. Oh my goodness, Eddie and V1 are going to turn around and they're going to maybe make an attempt at it. You just don't want that to happen. It is.
Wait, they actually did it!
it seemed like they weren't able to, after the Baron actually spit up like that and was able to slow them down on their engagement into 𝘃1 and 𝘃𝑠𝑠y, you know, the red buff, the feather setting up, everything was kind of going against them. I don't mind this decision eventually from the side of Saigon. The pairing also of the ultimate from the cannon with the Cataclysm was almost gorgeous if 𝘃𝑠𝑦 were able to be kept at the front, but unfortunately that was not the case. So instead they just have to, you know, take their 2-for-1 situation between the two of them.
I feel like 𝘃𝑠𝑦 pulled the feathers back a little bit too early. I think the feather storm timing was really good, but when he pulled the feathers back, what, 10 of them or so, I don't think they actually really hit anyone. Maybe he's just being a little bit too trigger happy. Maybe the nerves coming into play somewhat for the young ADC.
To some extent, I think it also might just be that, like, okay, if he expects the feathers to hit somebody, there's no reason not to do it because there could be an entire rest of the fight. Since you've got these defensive tools in such spades between the flash, the cleanse, the ultimate, if you burn one of them and your feathers are set up in the right position, I mean, you might as well pop it because you know that there's going to be more engagement on you afterwards. Man, Saigon, they are really keen on making sure that this Baron buff understands that they want to flip around it as much as possible.
But while all of this is happening, we already talked about how Team Secret is good in the split push, and that's exactly what Simon's doing. He's got to push this wave in, he's going to be able to teleport, and the minions will just pick up the tower by itself.
Goodness gracious. I mean, they're down to, what is 5,200 health. They're going to turn again. Again, Saigon is just fishing for a fight, I think is what is happening here, as much as possible.
And every time Team Secret just seem to have their numbers, seem to know that nothing's going to happen. Solar Flare's going to be able to land onto 𝘃1. Hero's entrance, that's massive for the side of Saigon Buffalo. 𝘁𝑟y still alive. What can this Ryze do? DNK is there, but the Ryze is down. It is a 2v3. Unless 𝘃1 wants to join into the fray. How this is a 2-for-2, I do not know. But Team Secret have lost their two main damage dealers. That being said, DNK is still alive, and he does a fair amount of work. How Team Secret did not get blown up, I do not know.
It's a great question. Stopwatch is one answer. I did see at least 1 or 2 stopwatches during the course of that 𝘁𝑎 ultimate, because I expected that to really be kind of the tail end of the fight. Was as soon as that 𝘁𝑎 ultimate hits, you got a couple of people knocked up. One of them dies almost instantly. The other one probably takes quite a bit of damage, and the fight is completely over. But instead, Team Secret somehow able to stall out. That 𝘁𝑚a ultimate had very little effect. They were able to split in multiple directions, and it only cost them 2 members. Yes, it was 𝘃𝑠𝑦 and 𝘁𝑟y, but there's still more than enough actually to try to be around to just contest. What an amazing Cataclysm as well. Can't speak enough about how well 𝘃_j was able to use that ability in this case. And again, 𝘀𝗀gy not quite able to tap to Simon or DNK, but very, very close to being able to use that fairy properly. And Shogun, I think, was, if he's able to follow up on that immediate Cataclysm, looks so much better, but unfortunately I think was just a step too far off. And so future fights, hopefully Shogun's going to be a little bit closer to the action to begin with, because he is this Lucian. He's supposed to be quite a bit of the damage for this team.
Now, this game still feels like it is on a knife's edge, but something that I want to bring into play that we haven't really spoken about is scaling, because so far we're getting a lot of these even fights, a lot of these almost stalling fights, and I feel like with each of these fights, 𝘃𝑠𝑦's getting stronger, 𝘁𝑟y's getting stronger, as we get a Cataclysm coming through onto 𝘁𝑟y. 𝘁𝑟y's just going to get popped. There's nothing he can do whatsoever about that. Caught out of a position. Team Secret are going to have to retreat, and now with a member down, surely Saigon Buffalo pick up the soul.
Potentially. They're definitely walking towards it. They're going to posture towards it, and they have 40 seconds on 𝘁𝑟y. So one of the damage dealers, like you said, is completely off the map. I'd like to see them kind of shift, but again, because they've ceded control of the Baron River pretty much entirely to the side of Team Secret, they have to make sure that they get a little bit of their bearings in a couple of different positions. Here you can see 𝘁𝑠𝑚 had already started it. It looks like Shogun was going to join during that process as well, and because of that, they're going to be able to drag the soul with only 2 members. So now it's a question of, can they convert this soul into anything more? With that ultimate cooldown reduction, is going to make a difference. Is 𝘁𝑠𝑚 going to be able to use it more than one time in a fight, or use it at the beginning and then use it at the end of a fight? How many more times is 𝘀𝗀gy going to be able to press the ultimate? How many times is 𝘃_j going to be able to press the ultimate? Now quite a bit more alongside that movement speed buff that comes from the Cloud Drake. Again, it still just feels like they are trying to set up a 5-on-5 team fight to the best of their ability. The best way to do that is going to be this Baron.
But now, one of the issues I have with this Cloud Soul is, yes, I hyped it up and I talked about, okay, 𝘁𝑠𝑚 gets all of this movement speed, but we've seen Saigon Buffalo get these fights where they've got the they've got the ideal engaged. They didn't have an issue with getting 𝘁𝑠𝑚 into the right position, with Shogun having movement speed. So I don't feel like the movement speed or the soul itself is going to help them to do that, because they've already had those ideal situations and it hasn't worked out for them.
like I said, it's a very finicky thing, the Cloud Soul, because in the right hands it is astronomically insane, and in this particular instance, I'm not going to say that it is the best composition to use a Cloud Soul of all time, but it certainly is not one of the worst ones given the number of ultimates that are necessary for team fights to come out. So I will say at minimum that is the case, where 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀, they look really, really good when it comes to, I don't know, they control their objectives, they're going to be able to fight very effectively, that kind of thing. And TS, I mean, like you said, we're waiting on scaling aspect of this game between Jerry and between the 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹. The 𝘀𝗰𝗶 specifically is what kind of piques my interest. Already on 4 completed items, 410 CS at 35 minutes. 𝘀𝗀 is looking to be the primary, the sole carry here for the side of Team Secret to do a bunch of their bidding.
And the start of this game, it was all 𝘁𝗀. 𝘁𝗀 created all of these opportunities. He created a massive lead for Team Secret. Now, the kind of pressure's off 𝘁𝗀 a little bit. He's just the ult bot. It's on Jerry. It's on 𝘀𝗀 to be able to find these big plays, to be able to find the damage in these fights.
It's a tough prospect if you're a 𝘀𝗀, only because, again, you're in a very rough spot of it, where your defensive summoners are pretty much your lifeblood. The flash, the cleanse, the ultimate, all absolutely necessary to make sure that a fight goes well. Especially the Featherstorm, which I think it's used offensively on occasion, but most of the time it's used as like a counter-engaging tool.
Oh, 𝘁𝗀's popped the Predator. He wants to go in. They're looking towards the support that is 𝘁𝗀. Solar Flare is a drop down 𝘁𝗀. Jerry joining into the fray. Is it going to be a 2-man Everfrost? Jerry just getting run down. Will go golden to deny the damage from the culling. As that is a very nice ultimate coming through from 𝘁𝗀. The Cataclysm in. 𝘁𝗀 surely going to fall. And will, but what can Team Secret find on the follow-up? Over the wall goes Simon, hunting down Shogun, trying to flash out of the hero's entrance. Will be able to pop the Guardian Angel as 𝘀𝗀 gets the kill onto the Galio. Pops the GA of the Jarvan, and Team Secret will win the fight. They get 4 kills, only 2 members fall, and they can turn towards the Baron.
The majority of this front line ends up in the wrong position, split up away from one another. No one's able to get onto 𝘀𝗀, and because of this, it allows the 𝘀𝗀 to just kind of reign king within the confines of this fight, just being able to auto-attack anything down. 𝘁𝗀, you got to pull an absolute miracle here if you want to try to take this Baron away.
But remember, 𝘁𝗀 has Smite. 𝘀𝗀 and 𝘂1 do not. Is this a 50-50? I'm not quite sure. He's going to get vision of the Baron. Can he flag and drag in? He's being zoned away by Team Secret. And the setup from Secret is great as the knock into the wall. Aqua Prison Tidal Wave. And 𝘀𝗀 will get the kill onto 𝘁𝗀. Team Secret finally win a fight. 5k gold ahead. And they have a Baron. Here's a replay of the fight that kickstarted this chain of events.
It all started with 𝘁𝗀 being caught out a little bit by the side of 𝘁𝗀, and then by Jerry, who moves into the brush with no magic resist to the best of their ability. Now, taking a look at literally everything else that happens over the course of the fight, our first kind of view goes to 𝘁𝗀, who's able to pick up a couple of kills in response. I want to know where exactly this Galio was during the majority of this interaction, because Galio was half health. Yeah, just get blown up by 𝘀𝗀. That's what happened. I was curious. I was like, okay, how did he just get absolutely devastated when he walked in? He's half health, for one thing. Number two, he's walking into the meat grinder that is 𝘀𝗀 on this 𝘀𝗀. The 𝘀𝗀 pick is already at the point where all of a sudden it's got the full backpack for the 1v9 carry that 𝘀𝗀 has been preparing for the majority of the series. And now, 5,000 gold, the Elder Dragon probably ends up being the next real objective that matters. And that almost certainly will be the demise of one of these two teams.
So far, so good for Team Secret. And I'm going to eat my words. I didn't say this on broadcast, but I was thinking it coming in. I, hands down, thought Team Secret would be the worst team in the league after the first week of gameplay. But they are playing much better today than what we saw from them last week, I feel. And they've shown some promise. Simon has played relatively well, but I think 𝘁𝗀, he's been so phenomenal in this game.
𝘁𝗀 walked so that the rest of the team could run. It was 𝘁𝗀's pressure at the beginning of the game that really made a massive difference on how each of the lanes was going to be able to play out, and also bridge the mid game gap. Again, 𝘀𝗀 isn't the strongest of champions on first item, second item, that kind of territory, but now on 5 full items with 100% 80% crit in this particular instance with the Guardian Angel. You have like 4 or 5 different ways to actually not die during the course of a fight, and you've got the crazy DPS that you need out of a really solid 5v5 carry, which is necessary. So again, to me, it comes back to, okay, what does 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀 have that actually puts pressure directly into 𝘀𝘀ie that otherwise they wouldn't have, especially when he's got all these defensive tools and these other champions around him. They have to figure out a way to get on top of that character just to make sure that 𝘀𝘀ie is either A, out of the fight to begin with, or B, just killed outright so that they can actually do something.
Well, Elder has already been started. This could define the game. Simon in a bit of a rough spot. 𝘁𝗀𝗃 just trying to zone 𝗵𝗃 away, and the Elder's already been secured. Surely this just goes the way of a Team Secret. 𝗵𝗃 has already been popped. Simon now going in on to 𝘀𝗃𝗃. Supreme display of talent will get the knockup. It's a really nice slicing Maelstrom. Hero's entrance on top, but is it not enough? It might be. How are 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 winning this? It's Simon and 𝘀𝘀ie, and it's versus 𝘀𝗀. 𝘀𝗀 over the wall. It's 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀. The fact that they've been able to get 3 kills might have just kept their game hopes alive.
And right there, you can see it's very, very close to being just a ridiculously strong setup from the side of Team Secret. Unfortunately, 𝗵𝗃 got ripped through at the beginning of that fight, which is what cost quite a bit. But with only 2 members remaining with this Elder Drake buff, I don't know that it's going to be the pure end of the game. If 𝘀𝗀's able to just hold a little bit longer, he's got reinforcements. 𝗵𝗃's on the way. And now, I mean, it is difficult. The inhibitor's definitely going down. But with the number of members that lost their Elder Dragon buff, I think Saigon holds maybe to go for another Baron fight. This is not the first time that I've seen 𝗵𝗃 really not actually end up in the right position. I want to see him get more aggressive and attack the pit just so that he can get in and look for one of those huge plays. So you could say, I mean, the savior of the day is 𝘁𝗲𝗻t right there. That massive cannon ultimate was just so effective. And you can see he also absorbed quite a bit of the auto attacks from the likes of 𝘀𝘀ie. It bought time for 𝘀𝗀 to go crazy inside of the fights. There were just too many members, and that Elder Dragon is such an imposing buff to try to play against.
If 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 win this game, they need to give a raise to 𝘁𝗲𝗻t just for that one play, because that flash with the cannon ultimate has kept 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀's hopes alive. If that didn't come through, this game would be over. I don't have a doubt in my mind about that. Now, Team Secret, they still have the Elder Drake on at 2 members. They've got Baron buff available in 1.5 minutes, and surely the plan is just shove mid, get inhibitor, go Baron.
Goodness gracious, so much damage actually put on it!
Wow! Okay, 𝘀𝗀 feeling himself. It's a solo fly onto 𝘀𝘀ie. He's going to burn the Feather Storm, and that's going to be the illusion pop. Oh, actually, never mind. 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 are turning this. How are 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 doing this against the Elder buff Team Secret? Simon on the run. Simon trying to run out. Simon taunted down, and it is an ace for 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀. Where the hell has that come from? 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 get 5 kills for nothing, Rebel.
Goodness gracious, the team fighting setup from this squad has been amazing all game, and they're able to make it work. They've got 28 seconds on DNK. I don't think they're going to be able to finish without minions. Maybe it can actually push out. I'm not sure. They've got a ton of time to work with. Maybe they're going to be able to push into the base and actually accomplish something. This is insane from the side of Saigon. Props also to 𝘀𝗀. 𝘀𝗀𝗋𝗋 is an incredible player, but 𝘀𝗀 right there made that happen. Forced the play onto DNK, was able to kill. The minions are here. They're going to win this game.
No freaking way has this just happened. Team Secret had the game in their grasps, but 2 great plays. The first from 𝘁𝗲𝗻t, the second from 𝘀𝗀. And right at the end, right...
This is the reason you never discount an easy to execute composition. Not in 100 years. Because when you got that easy of execution, you got that ease of pressing, Jarvan ultimate, Galio ultimate. I know it wasn't necessarily that put it together, but you have the fear of losing a team fight even through an Elder Dragon.
I just feel like at the end, it didn't come down to that. It just came down to the outplay from 𝘀𝗀. And then at that point, it was kind of over, but... Wow.
I mean, yeah.
Sorry, go on.
It's just a matter of like 𝘀𝗀 found a perfect moment to strike in the midst of everything else that was happening, right? The ultimate was actually gorgeous before it, and it's what set up the remainder of the team fight. But it was just the ability to collapse that quickly with multiple members. I mean, when you have people surrounding you from 4 directions, attacking you with a Cataclysm, with a Galio ultimate, that kind of thing, it's so hard to target select, especially when one of your 2 biggest members in terms of damage and in terms of team fighting was just erased off the map by the likes of 𝘀𝗀.
Now, we're going to be talking about this game a lot more, but We're going to jump into a break. We're going to gather our thoughts. And when we return, we'll be getting 𝘀�адц's thoughts as well on the game and jumping on into Game 2 of the series. Stay tuned here at VCS English. The VCS just keeps on giving. 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 coming back against an elder buff Team Secret to secure Game 1 of the series. 𝘀𝗁𝗋, honestly, I think that game went in a completely different direction from what we were expecting at multiple points in that game.
So it's interesting because one thing, if we had spoken about it before the game, one thing I would have pointed out is that 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 can't play late game. If it goes to late game, they almost always fall down. It's been a huge Achilles heel for them. And that game went late, and they looked shaky. Thankfully, 𝘁𝗔 looked shakier, so they managed to get back into it. 𝑆hogun did a hero play right at the end there, but it was certainly much closer than I thought it had any right to be.
And I've just realised, 𝘀𝗁𝗋, you've been substituted in by Rakan.
Look, I'm just very hungry. I'm just very hungry. I'm just having something to eat while we do analysis.
Looking
Wait,
handsome
you thought,
today.
wait, you thought the person was 𝘀𝗁𝗋? No. It's been the bird the whole time.
Well, to be honest, I think the camera now looks much better. It's a much more handsome face anyway. Rebel,
Sure.
as we get ready to jump on into Game 2, I personally don't think Team Secret stand a chance because I think that felt like a 1 in 100 kind of game. You know, 𝘁𝗀𝗀 was so aggressive. He was able to find so much. Do you think 𝘁𝗀𝗀 can make that same magic happen again?
That's the I think crux of the situation here. It's like, okay, was 𝘁𝗀𝗀's opening to this game something that is replicatable for the side of Team Secret? Is it something that they can manifest a second time into Saigon's lineup now that they understand what is coming at them? Because now they understand, okay, we can't allow for 𝘁𝗀 to get something that's really mean in the later stages of the game. They understand, of course, that 𝘁𝗀𝗀 is going to be making moves, especially on the top side of that, most likely in the earlier stages of the game, barring anything else in the draft. And most importantly, they understand that 𝘁𝗀's really bad, which means I hope that they give 𝘀𝗀𝗆 a far more important champion than something like a Galio, which he wasn't able to have that much of an impact on, but it does break them a lot new. Saigon pulled a lot from that game and pulled a win, which is a problem. It's like when you lose a game like that and you have the ability to come back in Game 2 with all that information, you're usually feeling really good. But because they won and got all that information, it's now a question of, okay, how much can Team Secret? How much did they learn from that game specifically? And in this particular case, I think they might fall short on that aspect just because there wasn't much about that game that really went super, super great for them after they lost, just because they're playing out their composition well. They had their ADC on quite a bit of way. Their team fighting was looking okay, but the errors they were making didn't seem like ones that could be fixed in just like a drafting problem or something like that, game planning from their coach, whatever it might be.
Yeah. So in other words, it kind of felt like Team Secret were pretty much playing at their ceiling and 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 were playing more towards their floor, effectively.
I don't know that I would say that specifically.
Okay.
All I know is that in this game, specifically this game, 𝘁𝗀𝗀 had a great early game, transitioned it well, and even despite those things, they still made enough mistakes to where Saigon could actually come back and force their way back into the game. So it's a question of, is it replicable without the errors? Or is it, can you come up with another game plan to do the exact same thing?
𝘀𝗁𝗋, do you think 𝘁𝗀𝗀 can do it again? Do you think he can dominate the early game?
I mean, yeah, I do think he can do it again. 𝘁𝗀𝗀 is a very good jungler. I've had a certain constant criticism of him, but this game he was going in first. He did have that killer instinct, and it looked good. However, I don't think 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 will give it to him again. I do think Team Secret has a very high ceiling. This is something 𝘀𝗀𝗋 actually said in our first podcast of the split, is that we don't expect too much out of this team. However, I do think they have the ability to get that lightning in a bottle and play really good games. And I think we saw at least partially that in that last game. I think this time, just pick a stronger lane, just in general. Don't put 𝘁𝗀𝗋 on Kennen. I just think it's wasting him. And I think 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 just won't be in the position where they have to play a game like that.
Well, 𝘁𝗀𝗋 has had 3 games on Kennen so far. We are jumping on into picks and bans, and Rebel, it's no surprise that the 𝘁𝗀𝗋 is banned straight away. This time, though, by 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 because they are over on the red side.
don't be giving the champion away. They obviously don't want it in Eddie's hands, because if he can take over the game and the mandate parts, that's going to be a problem as well. And I think 𝘀cie is a good Nami, but if they don't have another champion that they can throw with the Nami in that bottom lane, then they're not going to want to take the chance of having those two champions combined to anything better than their parts.
And 𝘀cie, one thing I do want to bring up is 𝘀𝗀. We talked about how well he played. Let's not forget as well, he had that insane Graves performance where he just absolutely stomped the jungle, and it's starting to become a trend now where 𝘀𝗀 is able to pull out these kind of performances.
Yeah, 𝘀𝗀 is a good player. That's just a fact. Team Secret might not be an amazing team, but he is a good player. So I don't see why he can't carry this team. He can get ahead. He needs to transition his lead a lot better. But yeah, he's a good player.
I have qualms with this game. 𝘀𝗀 is back in for the side of Team Secret.
Oh no. Wait, oh no? Maybe good?
Oh no.
No, bad. Real bad.
Yeah.
𝘀𝗀's been terrible.
Yeah, Simon didn't die to 𝘁𝗲, and he was able to actually generate some kind of offense with DNK. That probably is not the case with 𝘀𝗀. I have to assume, just because that's not been the case in other games that they played this split. So I don't know why it is that all of a sudden they're pulling out Simon, because that lane did not go poorly. The Gnar was going okay. I guess the Gnar wasn't good in team fights. I guess that was their one problem, is they did have a really massive team fighting champion for him, and Simon didn't really accomplish that much with it, but that's rough.
And now that's a 𝘁𝗏 locked in, a 𝗀𝗏 to follow up. Again, 𝘁𝗀 going for this huge team fight composition, or maybe a pick composition, and with a Renekton off the cards as well, there aren't many counters that 𝘀𝗀 has available to him.
Yeah, it's a little bit rough. Sorry, I was just sorting the camera out there. Rakan decided he had had enough of his time in the sun. So I had to get the camera sorted. Looking at this one, look, I think SGB are going towards a bit of a classic Team Secret draft, funnily enough, with the 𝘁𝗏 𝗀𝗏. I don't think they'll go towards the Nocturne that was the classic third part of it. But it is technically possible. But this is screaming, we're going to dive top.
Okay.
Rebel, you're liking something here.
Well, I mean, I'm always a fan of when you have like the 𝘁𝗏 𝗀𝗏 combination. VCS, it's like bread and butter. Pretty much any team that has problems, they can just draft this and they say, okay, problem's gone. Something is better. I really want to see it flex, though. 𝘀𝗀 is one of the very few players that actually uses it in the support role. It's good into a number of different ADCs. It always excites me when we get a chance to see that potential come through, because now, I mean, if they start banning up supports, they might be wasting those bans when it comes to this situation. Since Renekton's already off the board, and since this the Jax is already off the board now, I mean, it's very unlikely that 𝘀𝗀 is going to have too much to be able to pull out into 𝘁𝗏 specifically as a counter pick. It feels like it doesn't necessarily need to attack side lanes. It feels like it could be something to set up their bottom lane between 𝘀𝗀 and Shogun and give a much better matchup for the likes of 𝘀𝗏gy in the mid lane up against the Twisted Fate, because they could have taken that themselves. They could have said, hey, we're going to take the 𝘁𝗏 Twisted Fate. That feels like something that's powerful enough for them, especially with how much that champion's been banned away from 𝘀𝗀gy. So there's an alarm bell going off in my head right now saying, okay, why not take Twisted Fate instead of 𝗀𝗏 if he's better at that champion, because he has been for the majority of the split. Maybe this is the response. Maybe this is, and of course it's not. It's going to be the Leon support.
Tragedy. I would have loved to see. I agree with you. I think putting 𝘀𝗀gy, giving him more draft prio makes a lot of sense. There's no need to just put him on 𝗀𝗏 every game. But I think it is just the 𝘁𝗏 𝗀𝗏. That's the idea. I mean, of course, you can do 𝘁𝗏 TF, but they're looking towards the 5v5s. A set will be picked up going towards 𝘁𝗀. Should be allow him to neutralize most lanes up on that top side, particularly up against the 𝘁𝗏. It's an alright matchup. But you are very much not happy.
I am not happy. I don't like Set. Not the champion itself. I love Set the champion, and I like it in a number of different matchups. I've seen this story play out so many times. Somebody says, you know what I want in the 𝘁𝗏? I want Set. And you know what happens? Nothing. The 𝘁𝗏 is not denied. The team fights go horribly because this champion does not team fight effectively when it is the primary engage. And here, what do you have? You got Alistar? That's great. What are you doing is set to get into a backline that consists of a Ziggs? You don't. there's a lot of front line, don't get me wrong, because there's a Galio to jump into you, there's a Lee Sin to jump into you. I don't really agree with drafting this much melee alongside his Ziggs to actually do the majority of your damage. I think that's one mistake that Saigon made. But when it comes to getting on top of Ziggs, who will be doing the majority of this damage, it's not going to be Set doing it, and most of the time, it's not going to be the 𝘀𝘀 doing it, which means nobody's going to be doing it unless Jerry somehow finds a way to get a gold card back there.
So, my question to you on Rebel, because I think that's a very interesting point that I would like to speak more about, is when I look at Saigon Buffalo, I see loads of frontliners in the form of Galio, Lee Sin, Leona. Surely Set thrives in this kind of environment, and then when you look at who can get on the backline, surely you can just answer that with saying, well, doesn't 𝘀𝘀ie work in a front-to-back teamfight better than Shogun does?
I mean, front-to-back teamfight with what frontline? Like, is Nagia going to frontline with the Set? Is 𝘀𝘀star going to frontline with the Set? I mean, if it's just bombs getting thrown into 𝘀𝘀ie, Jerry, and DNK, they're taking half their health bar by third, fourth item. Like, it's not a front-to-back you win.
Okay.
You lose that on first ability, so...
Fair enough. Okay, so on that note, thoughts on the draft? Who do you think comes out on top? 𝘀𝑟ix, I'll start with you.
Honestly, I don't think either team did a perfect draft here. I agree that Froggy on Galio, instead of picking up the Twisted Fate in their first round, was just wrong. I also think Jerry is able to crutch on this champion, as he is very, very strong. But I'll give a quick prediction, and I still think SGB are going to win it.
Rebel?
This is going to be a shocker, but I actually think SGB is going to lose this game.
Okay, I like that. I like it when my analysts disagree, because it means I can pit you against each other in a fight to the death. Or more specifically, Saigon Buffalo and Team Secret can go against each other in a fight to, well, for Team Secret to keep a chance of winning this series. For Saigon Buffalo to take a 2-0. We are making our way into Game Rebel. Explain to us why you think Saigon Buffalo lose this game, in your words.
I have problems with what Saigon has actually set up in terms of their damage profile. This is one of the biggest things I harp on in any game, which is, what is your damage and who is supposed to be the person who's doing the majority of it, right? I don't have a problem with Ziggs being the majority of your consistent damage. That's not an issue. The problem is there is pretty much no other damage on the team. Outside of Hosmed, who, I mean, if he's going on Camille, he's going on Camille, and he can actually pop people. Because again, I mean, you look at this composition, it's a relatively squishy composition, pretty much top to bottom, which makes me think Saigon wants to play into top side quite a bit more, especially because Ziggs is pretty much impregnable on the bottom side for the most part. I just run into the problem of, like, okay, if the top lane stalls out and nothing happens, and bottom lane stalls out and nothing happens, is there enough damage? Is there enough presence from the rest of this team on the side of Saigon to actually get this Ziggs into a position where it can straight up 1v5 in a team fight? And I think that is a dubious proposition at best. And so there's problems, and that's why I'm predicting this. I wouldn't like that. I love Saigon. They're my favorite team, so I want to see them win. I'm a big fan of theirs. I think that the Ziggs is a great pick into this comp. I don't think there's a bunch of challenge necessarily for this pick, but there's just something wrong about this composition and the way that it's been crafted that I just don't agree with.
Okay, we are seeing DNK starting on the top side of the map. BNJ started on the bottom. And usually as a Graves, correct me if you're wrong, you usually start on red buff. So maybe this is DNK looking for a sneaky bottom lane gank.
It is either a sneaky bottom lane gank, which I actually don't think is very likely, only off the back of the fact that, like, it's a Ziggs, so it's like, okay, how are you going to gank this Ziggs? Like, unless 𝘀𝘀star gets the filthiest, like, flash pulverized headbutt backwards to make sure that the Ziggs is away from his Leona, it's unlikely. What's more likely is either A, he's going for the full clear towards the bottom side, attempting to avoid the Lee Sin, as they knew that BNJ passed towards top lane as the Lee Sin in previous games, something along those lines in scouting information. And the other option is the red buff being taken late means that it's going to be in the inventory of the Graves for much longer when it comes to the expansion past this first clear. And you can actually see, okay, so DNK's wrapped back around to the top side scuttle, maybe expecting for that scuttle crab to be contested by the likes of BNJ on this Lee Sin. And that means that the red buff is going to stick around and be available very quickly for that. Now, he's got the double buffs, obviously, so I don't know if this was ever really the intention. But what I wanted to see is, like, okay, if he's got the red buff for longer, that means that he's likely expecting interaction further than just, like, immediately inside his initial jungle, which is what's happening right now. As DNK is getting a massive push for Jerry in the mid lane, it's going to cost BNJ a scuttle crab. I'm pretty sure in our first series of the entire year for the side of Saigon, they had a problem with this, where like the 𝘀𝗶𝗃𝗀𝗀 ended up being their demise during the course of their game against SBTC, if I recall. And good on them for growing already, because they're not going to flip at this 𝘀𝗀𝗃𝗀𝗀. Instead, they're just going to give it over to the Graves and let him go. And BJ is going to use this back timer, hopefully, to find a gank opportunity.
But this is what we wanted to see from 𝘀𝗀𝗀. This is what Team Secret fans wanted to see. 𝘀𝗀𝗀 having another stellar performance in the jungle. And sure, while this isn't, oh my god, look, he got both 𝘁𝗀𝗃𝗃s over 𝘀𝗀𝗀. Wow! It's still, he's getting an advantage over 𝘀𝗀𝗀, and that's better than being dead even with a Lee Sin.
Yeah, I agree with that. Being able to use your team's pressure in order to, kind of capitalize and grab yourself to 𝘁𝗀𝗃𝗃s is humongous. It's a question of how BJ actually reacts, because this is another thing. Is 𝘀𝗀𝗀 in the previous game was a very attacking jungler with the Qiyana, was ganking all over the place, and that's a lot harder to do, I think, in this game specifically. Whereas BJ's got a champion on this Lee Sin, he's got lane set up with like the Camille hook shot, with the Galio and his taunt and his E and everything else about the sort. That there's better gank set up necessarily for BJ inside of this game, which makes it so much easier, I think, in this particular setup for the side of Saigon to play aggressively in the earlier stages, especially when you're at that level 6 mark with the likes of the Galio, when you hit the right marks for like 𝘁𝗀𝗃𝗃 or for especially Shogun in the bottom lane. That Mega Inferno Bomb can make a massive difference inside of a fight on the bottom side of the map, or whichever side the Ziggs is on. So that's what I'm looking for, I suppose, from the side of Saigon, is just like, okay, can you actually find early aggression, or are you going to let 𝘀𝗀𝗀 continue to just like pure power farm his jungle until he's just insanely strong?
Now, in a previous game, I made the mistake of saying, Graves is a very good early game jungler, and you corrected me. I think the better thing that I should have said is Graves is very good at power farming, and he can clear his jungle exceptionally well, and we haven't seen any early game aggression from BJ on this Lee Sin, which is what Lee Sins are usually known for.
I'm waiting to see. He's going to wrap around on Ngia here. Well, I thought he was going to wrap around on Ngia here. Okay, Ngia is literally walking through it. BJ, stay. Come on. Oh my goodness, okay. What are you doing? BJ.
Back, Team Secret, they're just going to take Drake.
That's... I don't know what that is. Like, I really don't. Like, 𝘀𝗀𝗏 wasn't in a bad position in mid lane. I guess they don't know where 𝘀𝗀𝗀 is. Maybe they didn't know where 𝘁1 is, so they didn't feel like it was a very safe bet going for the topside gank. But the wave was shoving in. I guess maybe 𝘁𝗏𝗏 wanted to freeze it. It's possible that he's just going to keep the freeze against Ngia and hold that advantage as long as possible. Because, again, the Camille, as soon as you're past, like, the first item breakpoint against the likes of the set, that lane is... it's not waiting for set. It is meant to like sandbag that lane and hopefully become a nuanced threat against melee characters. In this case, there's a couple of them that you can use as a re-engage, but I mean, you're not looking into a great place. I just really wanted to see the aggression. Where's the cutthroat BJ that had the Udyr and the 𝑀 that was attacking in the previous split? Feels like that is a way of the past, or at least in the spring right now, and I want to see more of it, because that was really the side of Saigon that was super aggressive, was like the early game plans from BJ to attack the map.
Sorry, are you asking for some more Udyr in the VCS?
I'm asking for Udyr-like aggression from BJ. That's what I'm asking for. Okay. If it requires him playing Udyr, have him play Udyr. Like, I don't have a problem. That champion got buffed. It's not a horrid champion, I don't think. Especially with Predator, I think it is workable. I don't think it's a perfect solution, but again, if it's what's necessary for BJ to have aggression, then so be it.
Okay, 𝘁𝗀𝗃 just walking up just to be able to cancel the back from 𝘀𝗀𝗀. Oh, that was a really nice actual charge to be able to cancel the quick draw over the wall, and 𝘀𝗀𝗀 is going to be forced to walk out. Now, BJ, stealing some of the walls from 𝘀𝗀𝗀. He leaves a little present for 𝘀𝗀𝗀 in the process as well, and 𝘀𝗀𝗀 will be spotting that out momentarily as he walks to the mid lane and just going to push this one in.
They had actually ended up swapping full jungle sides, and so it was, most of the wolf camp as well as the blue buff being taken for BJ in exchange for what was the blue buff for 𝘀𝗀𝗀 on the bottom side and then into bottom side. But again, it is really difficult to gank into the Ziggs, even without mana. It's really difficult to try to gank into the Ziggs. This is an interesting shift, actually. I'm looking at the Xayah actually walk up towards this Rift Herald. I wonder if they're going to go for a pure overload into topside completely, whether they go for a full 5. I guess they're anticipating a fight, but I feel like Saigon could just give this up and potentially redeploy Ziggs into bottom lane and just make this so much easier on themselves.
Shogun teleported in, and that is the Rift Herald secured. The engage comes through. V1 just getting absolutely popped. Hazmed on the back end. He's got to focus towards Nagia on their set, who finds a fair amount of damage with the Haymaker. And Team 𝘁𝗀𝗃 will make hay of a 𝘁𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗀. They get the kill on 𝘁𝗀. They get the kill onto 𝘀𝗀𝗃. They picked up the Rift Herald as well. 2-4-0. Oh, pardon me, 2-4-1 for Team 𝘁𝗀𝗃 because V1 has already respawned.
Man, VCS teams and flipping on Rift Herald is just like, it is a match made in heaven, apparently, for the side of these VCS teams, because there is no reason to be booting up that aggressively as the side of Saigon. Yes, you've got a solid, like, AoE composition for team fighting, but again, you have no backbone of damage. Your 𝘂𝑠e has one back to his name. I'm almost certain that all of that came off of a single back from Shogun. That it's just like, what are you doing that for? Like, why are you going for that aggression? You get the Rift Herald, and after this kill, just walk away if you have to. Man, like that's more than I thought they were going to end up getting. 𝘀𝗀𝗃 had a really amazing taunt into the backline as well, but again, nobody's there to do damage. You got multiple melee characters. You don't have this ranged DPS that's able to put legitimate threat into the backline yet, because the damage just is not there.
I mean, you saw what Eddie could do on the Xayah in Game 1. And here, maybe he can do the same thing again in Game 2 on the same champion. Also, it's been interesting to see 𝘁𝗃𝗃 just farming up, well, his camps, and then going mid lane saying, Jerry, you see all these minions in your mid lane? Yeah, they're my minions, buddy. I'm taking all of that experience.
I mean, after last game, if the trade-off is 𝘁𝗃𝗃 getting farm for Jerry losing farm, especially on a Twisted Fate, where like the Twisted Fate's getting bonus gold just for, you know, CSing properly, you're taking that trade 100% of the time. Like, especially when you're playing against a Galio, like, it doesn't matter that much. You're never gonna kill the Galio inside the laning phase. The threat's there for 𝘀𝗀𝗃 to hit you with CC and then have like a Lee Sin or a Camille come out of nowhere and end up killing you. But having gold isn't really gonna protect that. If 𝘁𝗃𝗃 just splits mid farm and also has all of his jungle for this to keep up like a 10 CS per minute type score, which he's at like 94 CS at 10 minutes and 49 seconds into the game, I mean, it's going to get the Graves into an amazing position to carry.
And it is showing that Team 𝘁𝗀𝗃 are playing towards this identity of get 𝘁𝗃𝗃 ahead, play around 𝘁𝗃𝗃. 𝘁𝗃𝗃 has that Youmu's available. He's got the lethality. He can really burn through members of 𝘁𝗀𝗃 right now. He's walking to the bottom side, and he's actually in a 1v3 scenario, really. 1v4, because 𝘀𝗀𝗃 is nearby as well. And I'm just wondering if 𝘁𝗀𝗃𝗃 look for a play. We do have a Drake spawning in a couple of seconds, and 𝘁𝗃𝗃 is going to say, yo, Eddie, you see this farm? I'm going to push this wave, as that is a nice kick coming through onto 𝘁𝗃𝗃. He's locked down, but 𝘁𝗃𝗃 is alive. No, he burns it down with the Ignite. It's a 1-for-1, both junglers down and out.
I am just baffled by what I just witnessed from the side of 𝘁𝗀𝗃𝗃. Somehow also, 𝘁𝗃𝗃 is standing in a lane. I was assuming what was happening is they were getting bot Bryo just so they could walk up to the dragon and take the dragon, and or like they could move up to mid lane and use the Rift Herald, or just use the Rift Herald bot lane and hope that it like pulls the entire tower. Anything like that would have been fine. But instead, 𝘁𝗃𝗃 just flash kicks him and he dies. And I'm just left here wondering, like, what are you doing, 𝘁𝗃𝗃? Like, you watched him walk up the lane and kick you.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, the Solar Flare didn't land, but what kills 𝘁𝗃𝗃? Was he on Explosive Minefield?
It was a lot of damage that came out from Shogun, I know that, but it wasn't quite enough. And then the red buff, or the red smite, my apologies, from 𝘁𝗃𝗃 is what ended up killing him, all things said and done. But, okay, yeah, see, this is the exact play I think they were going for a second ago. I think they were trying to set up specifically this Rift Herald play so that they could break the bottom tower as fast as possible, which is, it's really nice because it keeps 𝘂𝗎𝗍 from really interacting with the opposing tower. As you can see, there are no plates down. Of course, the trade-off is the top lane now gets aggressed against Nagia, probably dies. Yep.
Yeah, 3-on-1 on the top side, and Nagia did not stand much of a chance, but this is good for Team 𝘁𝗀𝗃 because now it's a Rift Herald that's going to get another charge off, and it might be even the inner tower falling as well.
It's Shogun who's going to dump the ultimate into that, and it's not worth it because it's just the minions that end up going down in exchange for it. That's, like I said, that's terrible against any ADC because of the amount of gold that you lose and the amount of gold that actually goes into the pockets of the side of Team 𝘁𝗀𝗃 for Saigon. But here, it is even more detrimental because, again, it means that this 𝘂𝗎𝗍 is so far away from actually interacting with the tower where that satchel charge becomes really, really valuable. Now, Team Secret burnt a bunch of the time they could have been using on the Dragon by engaging on that bottom tower. They could have made that trade-off and not gone for the 1-for-1. And I think Saigon is going to be more than happy enough taking this Dragon away. And while, yes, they're down 2,000 gold, again, they're okay with this Dragon being a massive play just because they're waiting for Shogun to really start to show up on this Ziggs before they really start to interact in terms of team fights. So I think we're just waiting the timer out here for Saigon to actually feel comfortable with Shogun doing the majority of the damage that they need.
And 𝘀𝘀 has himself a nice 25 CS lead over 𝘁cie. Divine Sunderer completed. We'll be completing or finishing off the stacks on the 𝘁 momentarily as well. And 𝘀𝘀's in a good spot right now, but the question is, will he be able to find the damage? And I'm not looking at DNK, I'm looking at 𝘁𝑦, because I feel that 𝘁𝑦 is the one who's going to be turning these fights. We saw it in Game 1 when he was on the side, and I think it'll be the same in Game 2.
It's, I mean, when you're facing a Galio, when you're facing a 𝘀cie, when you're facing a 𝘁𝗻𝑚𝑒, and you can put down feathers, they have to respect the Xayah so much more when you're like triple, quadruple melee composition. Now, the trade-off to this is that, you know, the defensive tools for 𝘁𝑦 are the ultimate against the Mega Inferno Bomb. If you tag the inner circle of that, the Xayah might actually get one shot once you're on 3-4 items, that kind of thing. So there is that threat ever looming. It's just that Ziggs decides to drop damage as fast as possible into the Xayah, and then she is kind of shit out of luck.
For a second, I thought Shogun had stolen the Rift Herald away with the bouncing bomb. Has made it in the bottom side of the map, but he's just farming up on the tower, trying to get as much damage down as he can as 𝘁𝑺 makes his way over to match. But Team Secret have another Rift Herald in the inventory, and that will probably be a mid lane or top lane outer tower falling at some point in the near future.
In the ideal world, I think they put 𝘁𝑦 in that lane as well, just because, again, he's going to be ripping through the majority of the health bars that are coming out and about on the side of Saigon, just because most of them are going to be easy to interact with as the Xayah. So here, rather than going, you should just like go with the grain. You should lean into top side once that wave is cleared. DNK should wait and try to chill for the Xayah to actually show up, but instead he's going to use the Rift Herald immediately. BJ's here for a potential play, but V1's presence is going to make this very, very difficult as the as Shogun and 𝘁𝑺 just were not able to actually move out from mid lane and help out the top side here. So they're going to keep pushing, maybe look for a second Rift Herald, but I think with reinforcements, they should just walk away from this.
𝘀𝘀 does have the teleport available, and as the Rift Herald attacks something, BJ is able to proc the eye, destroy the eye, and destroy the Herald in the process. 3 kills to 3, 16 minutes into the game, and a 2k lead for Team Secret. They're doing everything right at the present point in time, and is the answer, or for Team Secret, do they just need to keep on playing the same style of play? Just keep on playing it, I want to say slow, but they haven't exactly been playing slowly.
I'm trying to run exactly in my brain how it is that like Team Secret is able to force their will upon another opponent, right? They've got a 2,000 gold lead, but what does that really mean? I guess Xayah is getting close to second item completion, something along those lines, boots completion in that territory. I mean, the Graves is insanely powerful and is going to be able to do quite a bit of damage to anyone who stands in front of him. But are you really going to be able to use those is the big question mark to me. Because again, this is, I think, part of the reason why 𝘀𝑚𝑒 really just doesn't like this Graves pick, which is that it's incredibly hard to actually make work consistently inside of fights.
Solarflare not really going to connect onto everyone. BJ coming down. 𝘁𝑦 has been engaged on. Will drop down the Featherstorm to stop the kick, but can he pull the feathers back? He can. He will get a few members locked down. And 𝘁𝑦 is the only member who falls. Saigon Buffalo will take their kill, they'll take their winnings, and they will retreat.
Absolutely. That is a huge kind of gold influx also for the side of Shogun, because he picked up the kill and he was able to get the tower in one fell swoop, which means that there's a ridiculous amount of gold heading into the pocket of the Ziggs, who isn't quite able to finish up the Morella, I don't believe quite yet, but was very close to having those components finally be the purchase, as this is the use of the Mega Inferno or the satchel charge that we really wanted to see in the beginning stages of the phase. Great use of the engage for the combination of 𝘁𝑺 and 𝘀𝘀 just to find an advantageous situation to work into. And then the Froggy ultimate, I almost would have preferred they use it on BJ when BJ goes into the backline, just trying to set up more play for Shogun, maybe pull some more kills, even if it meant to trading off. But I'm okay with them just taking free gold off the map and then backing away, just making sure that Shogun's going to be in a position to really punish when the time comes.
We are seeing 𝘁𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 being able to use their composition effectively, and that's what their composition does so well. 𝘀𝗀 has practically a global ultimate. Sure, he was already in the fight, but 𝘀𝗀, here his entrance, gives defense able to show up to the fight quickly. 𝘁𝗃, the lockdown means that you can't get out of that engage, and that's exactly why they won the fight, because 𝘁𝗍 tried to use the showstopper, but locked in the ultimatum means that he doesn't get any extra damage down. He can't get into the back line of 𝘁𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀.
We're in a terrible place also for the set, where set is past first item, which means that the power spike has already been reached. And now 𝘁𝗃 is getting into Tiamat territory, already has the Sundere completed. I mean, we're ways out for any really significant armor item coming out from 𝘁𝗍, unless he decides to go for 𝘀𝗡𝗺. But the moment you build 𝘀𝗡𝗺 into this 𝘁𝗎 is the moment that this lane is completely chalked. All you are doing is soaking damage and doing nothing else altogether. As a TP comes out, 𝘁𝗀, I think, is just going to be sacrificial lamb here.
And this time, Team Secret showing how they can use their rotation power, utilizing the teleport, utilizing the destiny
This is a problem,
from 𝘁𝗍 to find a pick. But yes, big problem in the top lane, because 𝘁𝗃 is just going to be able to pick up an inner tower all by themselves.
It's just that easy, and this is one really horrid kind of result of this composition from the side of Saigon, which is that, again, in a side lane, Camille is going to be completely unmatched in this game. It's going to be very difficult to stop what is the 4-1 from potentially coming through. When it comes to tower pushing pressure, this is one of your better top laners, and you've got one of the best bot laners in the entire game for this. This is what happened just a second ago, if I recall, which is 𝘁𝗍 getting fished for to the best of their ability, the teleport coming in as a response, and again, it's just 𝘁𝗀 who decides to, it's self-sacrifice, making sure that the team isn't going to get engaged on, and that there's no real kind of response in the mid lane for the tower. And now that that TP is gone, nobody is comfortable being around here, so now we're just waiting. Wave is gone after a nice ultimate from DNK, but they're still going to grab that tower with the satchel charge, and it's just tower after tower going down. Saigon laying siege as best as possible to the ambient gold on this map, so they can try to tie up Team Secret and take them into a position where they're okay with the team fight.
And the gold is practically dead even at this point. 20 minutes in, 2 Drakes have been secured by the side of Team Secret, 1 by 𝘁𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀. They'll be having our next Drake in 3.5 minutes. But there is a Baron on the map, and I don't think Team Secret will be trying to secure this one. We saw in Game 1, 𝘁𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 being very desperate to make Baron plays, even if it was to their detriment.
In this case, again, I feel like you're absolutely okay if the other team decides to put themselves in the Baron pit, because like that's a mouth-watering proposition for a Ziggs. You like that for the Eclipse of the likes of the Leona. You like that for a Galio in most situations, especially when BJ is able to kind of get in and access as best as possible. If you get a ward hop, a kick into a Galio ultimate onto multiple members, it can be a very humongous amount of damage in CC that's just non-respondable. Now, I do want to see them continue to press a side lane with 𝘁𝗃, but this does run the threat of, again, burning that teleport as... Ooh.
Okay. I guess this time it's Team Secret who are starting on the Baron buff. 𝘁𝗃 does have teleport available. He's just going to be pushing in the side lane for now. Do Team Secret commit? Do they turn away? Okay, the teleport comes through and Team Secret will begin to back off. Do 𝘁𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 go in? 𝘁1 looking for the potential engages onto the Leona. Solarflower to so many members, but he's just a disengage from the satchel charge. BJ could look to go in onto 𝘁𝗍. Gold card comes through. Showstopper in to the backline, but I think the set's just going to get absolutely popped. Haymaker buying so much time. The Lee Sin's going to get taken down. Hero's entrance comes through, but Team Secret are winning the fight. Taki down to a sliver of HP. DNK stepping forward. Jerry has a gold card lock. Can he find the Galio? Flashes forward. You need to hit someone. They turn their attention towards the Galio. They look for the damage as 𝘀𝗀 goes gold in buying time. Jerry has another gold card, but will not be able to make it work.
Ends up being the 3-for-3. Oh, the ultimate had come out trying to punish Jerry, and 𝘁𝗍 on a bad back timer right there. What a play from both sides. The team fighting is incredibly scrappy between the two of these teams, just because there's so much melee interaction happening between the combine of what is set, Alistar, Leona, the Camille as well during the course of that process, and then also the Galio. And right here is a perfect example, a great usage of this kind of pressure to pull the TP out of 𝘁𝗃 to the best of their ability. I thought that Eclipse was going to mean so much in the grand scheme of things, but BJ can't hit an ultimate, or can't get a Q, can't get an ultimate, and then you can see a very nice engage from 𝘁𝗍, finding what is a very rare situation to actually drop another member of this team into the backline to put pressure on a Shogun, as that is all that's necessary for the fight to just kind of collapse around them to the best of their ability.
And I feel like the hero's entrance from 𝘀𝗀 in the end didn't really do much, or it didn't find any damage because everyone was already dead by the time that 𝘀𝗀 landed. It did, of course, give the defenses. Going back to your point, though, of being in the Baron pit, I agree. If Team Secret are in the Baron pit, 𝘀𝗁 can do so much work, but I think, funnily enough, the same things are also true. If 𝘀𝗁 are in the Baron pit, all of a sudden, Eddie's able to lay down so many feathers, and the gear's got free access in for a massive showstopper.
I think fighting in a situation in which Eddie can move backwards with feathers is an ideal sense, just because there's no way to actually like counteract that. Right? When you have what is dive potential coming out from like the Lee Sin and the Camille with like a an additional dive with 𝘀𝗀. In this particular instance, if you're able to make even one move backwards without actually full succumbing to somebody's death combo from melee range, it's really hard, in my opinion, for the likes of that team to actually respond to what is the feather setup from the ultimate, from anything else that can come out from the Xayah. So that's at least what I'm looking at, is how quickly can they get an engagement onto Xayah, and or does she fold?
Okay, 𝘁𝗀 has used the Destiny, but he's coming to the wrong place entirely. Who is he trying to go on? He's going to drop the gold card on to a 𝘀𝗀, and Team Secret winning the fight. 𝘀𝗀 locked down, 𝘀𝗀 taken down, 2 kills for Secret. 𝘁𝗀 and 𝘀𝗀 both dead. There's no smite for the side of 𝘀𝗁, which means Team Secret can turn their attention back towards the Baron.
And this is a situation now where you don't have Ultima Inferno Bomb. You do have 𝘀𝗋∠ce to work with, potentially, from the side of 𝘁𝗀. And 𝘁𝗀 does have the ultimate as well, but this is such a very rough prospect to try to deal with right now. 𝘁𝗀 basically just to throw bombs in, hoping that it's going to be enough damage to actually thwart any sort of attempt that they're going to make, but it is very unlikely that this is going to come through.
Solar Flare cleansed away from 𝘁𝗀. I think that might have been 𝘂1 using it. Lockdown comes through. The Baron has been secured. 𝘁𝗀 stepping forward, gets a fair bit of damage down onto 𝘁𝗀. Feathers pulled back. Hextech Ultimatum gets the lockdown, but you do not want to be there, 𝘁𝗀. And 𝘁𝗀 sent back to the fountain. DNK just clearing away wards in the middle of Shogun and 𝘁𝗀, as a 𝘀𝗀 teleported in behind, but he's not going to be able to make anything happen with that teleport whatsoever.
I was just waiting as best as possible for 𝘀𝗀 to show up and just kind of flank them from behind, just to make sure that they were going to have some semblance of a fight after the Baron buff goes down. I'm not sure what this was. This was, I think, more of a call of 𝘁𝗀 saying, okay, I want to go for the dragon, for the steal as much as possible. And 𝘀𝗀 threw that ultimate in thinking that it was going to matter inside of a team fight, or that it was going to be good coverage for the likes of 𝘁𝗀, but all it did was take him to his death. So 2 members went down right there for the side of Saigon, and that cost them this Baron buff, which is such a valuable 2 here for the side of Team Secret. Since only 3,500 gold is the advantage right now, this is going to help them try to spike that gold value even higher by getting some of the remaining little outer towers and starting to crack into the base of the side of Saigon.
So for 𝘀𝗁 fans now, they are training by nearly 4,000 gold. How can they hope to get back in? Is it, again, just like in Game 1, hope for those huge team fights where everything gets layered on top beautifully?
I actually think the best bet here is 𝘁𝗀. If you're looking for the 4-on-4 fight, that's okay, because 𝘁𝗀 can still deliver 𝘀𝗀, and then it's all about Shogun from that point. But 𝘁𝗀 is the one real difference maker that the team has in terms of like one-on-one interaction with their counterpart in the top lane. Where top laner v top laner, I think they are more than comfortable having 𝘁𝗀 take on what is 𝘁𝗀 on this set especially. So that's where I think the crux of this composition comes to, is can you use 𝘁𝗀 effectively as some sort of way to be able to deny a good amount of the pressure that comes out from Team Secret when they have these 4 members on the other side of the map that are incredibly imposing.
So far, we are seeing 𝘁𝗀 hovering around the bottom side of the map. For now, I think he's just trying to stay out of vision in case Team Secret look for a dive, so that he can come in with a effective counter gank. But for now, 𝘁𝗀's just pushing in the side lane with DNK. He's got the Destiny, so he can instantly return to his team for any possible or any possibly ensuing fight. For Team Secret, they're just trying to use the Baron buff as effectively as possible, using it in the top and mid lanes.
Yeah, it's the best of their abilities, making sure that they're going to maximize the amount of gold, they're going to maximize the amount of pressure across the map. Now, everything in the dominion of Saigon Buffalo is in their dominion, because it is all theirs as much as possible. Underneath mid tower, they're a bit too late for that one.
Yeah, and the Zigzag just doesn't do that much damage. Jerry teleporting in. Hextech Ultimatum comes through, but can they get on top? That's a really nice Hero's Entrance. Forces the flash from a Jerry. DNK in the backline, trying to find the damage onto 𝘀𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀, unable to do so, but it is a 4v1. 𝘂𝗔med gets run down, did not have the follow-up. And now it's a 5v4 scenario. We've got a bat coming through from Jerry. He's going to be able to teleport in for this play. Team 𝘂𝗰𝗏 might look to end things right here, right now.
Kind of insane how quickly this game has completely shifted from, oh, we're really close, we're very, very kind of on. The competition was there for the majority of the beginning of the game, and yet here we've landed at 28 minutes. It feels like almost out of nowhere that this massive advantage is now accrued for the side of Team 𝘂𝗏𝗏, where they've gone up 7,000 gold, 3 dragons, 30 seconds to the next dragon. I think that's a little bit of a late timer, to be quite honest. 𝘁𝗍𝗏𝗀 is going to get there and absolutely outward 𝘂𝗏 when he arrives. And it's just a question of, can you give up a big team fight if that is the case? I want to see 𝘁𝗍𝗏𝗀 get the vision down. I want to see this team actually fight for quite a bit more, because that's going to be coming. And this is that mid-tower take where they got a little bit hyphy. It was 𝘁𝗍𝗏𝗀 and it was 𝘁𝗀𝗀. I'm not sure who it was that actually made that call happen. It was a solid kick. But again, unfortunately, you just don't have the damage to really follow up the remainder of what else is coming out here. So Ziggs is a valuable champion. There is absolutely no denying that. But yeah, he missed it. He missed Jerry, I believe.
Yeah, he went for a hookshot flash, missed it. We can see the single target damage he puts out, but it's just not quite enough right now. We need to, as you said, see him in the side lanes. Drake secured by the side of a Team 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗀. 𝘁𝗀𝗀 already popped. 𝘂𝗏𝗃 will go golden. The showstopper will take 𝘁𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀𝗃 out of a Team 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗀's backline. And 𝘁𝗍𝗏 now being engaged on. Destiny comes through, the knock-up Shogun. He cannot move a muscle. He's headbutted out of his minefield, out of his safety, and the kill will be secured by Jerry. Team 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏. What a way to come back in Game 2 after what was an unfortunate Game 1. They stomp 𝘀𝗁𝗶𝗶𝗹𝗀 in the end. It was close for the first 15 minutes, but Team 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 ended up running away, and they take us to Game 3.
Again, I'm not super shocked. There wasn't a bunch of action on the top side. 𝘁𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 wasn't very active in the entirety of the game. And when you're running a composition like this, you need something humongous. A Jinx can try to carry this game. There's a number of different champions that can try to carry this game. Ziggs is good, but it's not going to full carry this game without at least a little bit of assistance somewhere else. I was hoping 𝘁𝗏𝗃 was going to be more than enough to actually make this split push happen, put enough damage in, but I simply do not know if that was actually going to be the case.
It seemed that 𝘀𝗁𝗶𝗶𝗹𝗀 didn't really seem committed to the whole Camille split push idea. They did it a couple of times. They were able to pick up some towers in the side lane, but they then just stopped doing it. And I'm not sure if they were just scared of the 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 engage that could potentially have come through.
It's a tough call. There was a lot running in that kind of Saigon composition that I wasn't in love with, and that was one of the big ones. Was I don't know how often they've been able to pull split push, especially pull off split push in this particular case, where 𝘁𝗏𝗃 needed to apply quite a bit of pressure. It felt like he had the advantage to do so, even without a bunch of kind of topside effort going into that one, since there wasn't a bunch from 𝘁𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀. But hopefully in game number 3, we're going to see a lot more contested. We've had some really long games, which have been really fun to watch between these two. And they've also been relatively low action. I know it's crazy to say, but like a 33-minute game with only like 20 kills is very low action for the side of the VCS. So if they can keep up this pacing, keep up this competition, this should round out to be one of our best series that we've had all split.
Well, Game 3 will be happening. We're jumping into a short break, and when we return, we'll be getting characters' thoughts on the game and jumping on into that third and final game between Team 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 and 𝘀𝗁𝗶𝗶𝗹𝗀. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone, to the VCS English. What's all this, you ask? Oh, this is just the Team 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 hype train, because I'm on the Team 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 hype train. They took down 𝘀𝗁𝗶𝗶𝗹𝗀𝗀 in Game 2. They brought us to a Game 3. Rebel 𝘀𝗀𝗃. Team 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏 have looked like the better team this series so far. 𝘀𝗀𝗃, I'll throw to you first.
So when when the luxury hype train derailed and went off a cliff, did you just jump out a window? Did you just jump out the window and jump on the next train that was also going over the cliff? Or
so what happened was this was a very last minute idea. So I had built the train, I got the train ready, but I hadn't stuck on the luxury esports logo. So all I've done is I've just stuck the Team Secret logo on instead now.
I mean, fair enough. Look, I do think Team Secret's a better team in this series. I don't think there's anything to really say about that. I hedged my bets when we were talking about Game 1 because I thought it was an anomaly that 𝘂𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 would underperform like that, but 2 games in a row, it's not an anomaly. It is currently 1-1, but realistically, Team Secret have won 1 3/4 of a game because they should have won Game 1. This should have been a 2-0.
Rebel, I want to throw to you with something because I think it's a topic that very easily happens when we're analyzing game, and it's did a team win or did a team lose? Have Secret played well so far, or have 𝘂𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 just played badly?
I think Game 1, both teams played well, although I think the game was more lost by Team Secret. In this last game, Team Secret played well, but it felt like it was lost at the beginning before we had even stepped in, just because that draft was so strange from the side of Saigon. They're seeing something that I'm not seeing, and what I want to see is a second person step up to plate, right? In the previous split, it was 𝘀𝗀𝗏 and 𝘁𝗀𝗃 were both stepping up, and then 𝘁𝗲𝗔 was also stepping up to the plate. And now this split, it seems like, okay, 𝘂𝗀 stepping up, and he's doing crazy things. And I was hoping, hey, there's 3 of the other people that were stepping up in the last split. Maybe that's going to be the play. But now it is, okay, everybody else is hiding. We're having, team fighting type champions. We're having, laning type champions. And nobody's really saying, I'm going to pick a champion that's actually going to help the team win. I'm going to pick somebody that's going to take resources, and I'm going to be greedy. And I just want one person to step up and be like, you know what? I'll pick 𝘁𝗏 top lane. I'll pick 𝘁𝗏𝗏 mid lane. Let's play around me for once.
Normally that's hard, but he needs to actually play it.
That's true.
𝘀𝗀𝗏 did play some 𝘁𝗏𝗏 games, right? Last split?
He did. We did have 𝘀𝗀𝗏.
That was
I don't want that. I don't want that back. I don't think. I just don't think 𝘀𝗀𝗏's playing particularly well at the moment. I don't really want to see him on the 𝘁𝗏𝗏. To be perfectly honest, look, the draft was not great from SGB, but the draft is not why they lost that game. They played badly. There's no soft way to put it. Decisions like 𝗀𝗃 going for a dragon steal, which I think was okay. I don't necessarily agree with it, but whatever. You go for the steal. But then committing a Galio ult on top of it. Why? You're not winning the fight. He's going for the steal.
I don't know. As we get ready to jump on into picks and bans, I literally have one question, and I think this is how this game goes. We brought it up for Game 2. 𝗀𝗃 against 𝘁𝗀𝗃. Can 𝘁𝗀𝗃 do it for a 3rd time in a row? Carrick, I'll go to you first.
I don't see why not. He beat him twice. There's no reason he can't beat him a 3rd time. 𝗀𝗃 is really underperforming. The eternal criticism I've had of DNK is that he never wanted to go in first. He was very good at following up, and he was a skilled mechanical player, but he didn't ever have that killer instinct. Now he does, apparently. This series, he's found it, and I've always said if he finds it, he's a great jungler. So why not? He's a great jungler.
Rebel?
I mean, if DNK's done it twice, he could definitely do it again. To me, again, it feels as though we are in a position where 𝘂𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 don't have an answer to DNK at the moment, which is a really tough position to be in just because of how hard it is to try to deal when a jungler has this much control over the map, even when they're playing something like Graves as opposed to something like the Lee Sin. So, again, to me, from Saigon, I just need someone to step up and actually make a play happen, because at the moment, nobody is really having the performance that they need to. Nobody is really stepping in, other than Shogun, of course. Shogun's been playing amazingly, but Shogun can't do everything. He needs at least one extra person out on the map to actually assist him. And as long as somebody's able to do it, all of a sudden there's actual potential for Saigon to start competing with Team Secret legitimately.
Well, we're into picks and bans, Carrick, and again, we've got the Graves, this time banned away from DNK, Xayah taken away from Eddie.
Yeah, but they first picked this Jhin. Rebel said it, Shogun's been having a really good series, but he needs a second person to step up. Well, now even Shogun doesn't matter nearly as much because you're going to give away an 𝘀𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀. Like, come
Please be
on,
locked in, please.
SGB.
Is it going to be locked in? Yes! No more Jin Misfortune. The 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀's in, and Rebel, you still got the Lulu available, you got the Thresh available, you got the 𝘁𝗀 available. There are so many good supports that can pair up with Eddie's 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀s.
It's a veritable kind of smorgasbord that we have here for Eddie and P on the bottom side.
What?
And with, I'm sorry?
What did he say? A smorgasbord?
A smorgasbord? A smorgasbord.
You ever heard of
It's
that
like
before?
a big, when you have a big table full of food. It's a smorgasbord.
Very large selection. I mean, and they opt for the Leona, which is both a denial from 𝘁𝗀𝗃, and also it just shows that they want to play really heavily into bottom lane, because you don't take something this aggressive with an Aphelios unless you are really trying to bear down on bottom lane as much as possible. It also kind of prevents the stalling mechanic of Jhin existing inside of the laning phase, just because usually Jin's like, is a deterrent for other ADCs, because if you hit somebody with a big crit, they usually like to run away in fear, and as long as you have at least 2 bullets in the chamber, usually you're okay to simply run away and not have to deal with anything. And their response to that is also Alistar. I don't love that. Again, this lane feels pretty lax from the side of SGB, and it's not the kind of carry that you really want to see on somebody that's performing the way the Shogun has been.
I mean, this is just, they're sprinting it. They've got their runners laced up tight, and they're sprinting it. Like, you pick Alistar while Sylas is open, and you're happy to play it. This essentially blocks your own Twisted Fate pick, which you'd really love to get Froggy on. Is SG... I don't understand what SGB is thinking. I like giving Jace to 𝘁𝗲𝗔. He is very good on it. It's a carry top laner for him. But they're going to... I think you have to have a Froggy pick here. You have to have a crazy Froggy pick here that makes sense. Or I just don't see how they get themselves out of this quagmire of a draft.
And something I want to throw in, Rebel, as well, is the fact that Team Secret, I think they're leaving that R5 pick for DNK. They want him to have the counter pick. They know how impactful he is in this game. Team Secret are on red side.
We will learn that knowledge as soon as we get past this next pick, because it should be just as quickly as possible, likely the top lane counter pick to come out if that is the case. Of course, at least one jungler and now a top laner also banned out on both sides, just making sure that there's no response to actually come through. I think it would be haphazardous to try to counterpick in jungle. I don't think that makes a ton of sense. I actually, surprisingly, Xin Zhao at this position, I feel like isn't that actually great. Like, this champion hasn't seen very much success inside of the VCS here, and DNK, I mean, obviously he's a very good player, but this goes directly against what 𝘀𝗏𝗃 was saying earlier, when it's like, okay, he's supposed to be the first, or he doesn't like being the first one into a fight.
Well, that's what I was also trying to add, is this series, I think he's grown past that. He is the first man in the fight, so I'm actually really happy to see him pick up Xin Zhao. I think it makes sense with this team comp as well. It gives a lot of screening for your 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀s, really gives him a lot of time to deal that damage. SGB round their draft out with a self-counter-picked Twisted Fate. Of course, Sylas is kind of a soft counter, not necessarily just a hard, I'm going to kill you 10 times in lane. And the Trundle jungle, and I'm about to borrow something that 𝘀𝗀𝗋 has said, and Twitch chat has said plenty of times. Where damage? Where damage, SGB? Where's your damage? It's just Jace.
𝘁𝗲𝗃.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's not enough.
No.
Rebel, I just want to jump in because you said Xin hasn't found much success, so I decided that I'd try to catch you out if I could. How many games do you think Xin has been played so far in the VCS Winter Split, and what do you think the win rate is?
Probably 8 and probably 50%.
Oh my god, Rebel! Bang on!
Yeah, okay.
Fair enough.
How's his race?
This is why we used to call you the Prophet Rebel Fox, right? Let's take a look at the drafts then. 𝘀𝗃𝗃, who do you think's got a better draft? Don't say where damage.
I mean, Team Secret. Team Secret. It's not even close. They have destroyed this draft phase, and I don't think they did anything special in it. I think 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗀 just drafted themselves into a corner. I mean, you get they picked Ornn into Trundle, so it's going to be a pretty big tank. This is not unplayable for 𝘀𝗏𝗏𝗀, but when I look at it, I go, I much prefer if I want my AD carry to carry, I want 𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀, not Jhin. If I want my mid laner to be able to keep up with someone like Froggy, Sylas against TF is really good for that. And if I want my top laner to neutralize 𝘁𝗁𝗃, give him Ornn. I think Team Secret have outdrafted, and I think they win this 2-1.
Rebel?
Team Secret has 100% outdrafted Saigon Buffalo. Unless Saigon Buffalo can take advantage of the fact that they drafted 4 laning phase. I haven't actually seen that from them so far. So I am adverse to saying that Saigon Buffalo is going to win this series. So I'm going to call Team Secret as well.
Team Secret, both analysts in unison. Now, the last time those two were in unison was game 1. And it was correct, as I've heard an ooh, which usually means Rebel has spotted something cool.
No, the skin. I like the skin.
Oh, come on. I thought it was actually something cool.
Look at him. He looks dope. That's a cool skin. I kind of want to buy that skin now. Thank you, Froggy. I didn't even know that was there.
Is it enough to make Saigon Buffalo's draft good?
No. But
okay.
I have faith that Froggy can actually move, mostly off the back that I don't think Jerry is good enough to just outright punish this counter matchup, right? It's supposed to be a matchup that's like really good for Sylas, especially once you get past like the first few like levels. Once you get into the level 6 area, you can respond with your own ultimates, things of that sort. But I feel as though Froggy has the potential to run this lane into the ground. If that's the case, that is your first crux for making sure that you can actually prevent Jerry from denying a bunch, and you can make sure that Froggy is out and about on the map. From that point, it's you gotta defend 𝘁𝗀 because he's your only damage, because where damage will damage top. That's pretty much all you've got. And then you've got Shogun and Taki, who are playing a purely counter lane. You've got Jhin into a Philios in the earlier stages and an Alistar into a Leona. You are banking entirely on the fact of trying to snowball this early game into something that Saigon has yet to have a really good early game yet inside of this specific series. So again, it is a questionable decision to go for something like this in the draft, and I feel like it is contingent very much so on Froggy, even though I usually say that as it is.
𝘁𝗀 is on Let's Kill the God right now, and saying, Forge God, you see this minion wave? No 𝘁𝗀cie. This is my wave. You don't come anywhere near it unless you want to get absolutely shot blasted to the face, as he bullies Nagia from the very beginning. I think he just knew Nagia was coming through the tri-bush, so bullied him out in the process. And 𝘁𝗀, we know he's a bit of a selfish jungler, let's say, so he's just going to say, no, I'm on my power farming duty, I'm carrying this game, I'm not coming to cover you right now. And now he's looking towards the mid lane for an early gank. Jerry going in, stunned down by Froggy, flash forward, the abduct not going to connect, the tag comes through from wind becomes lightning. First blood for 𝘁𝗀.
Easy enough for Saigon Buffalo to just get ganked. Again, they were trying to push up as much as possible for Froggy so that maybe he could show up to top lane. Yeah, he's literally teleporting in to actually force this play to work and counter TP. Is it enough to actually turn this?
Gold card comes through, Jerry joining into the fray. He's down to half HP already because he did that off the back end of the play mid. I don't think he got a chance to actually reset. Now it's a 3v2. Saigon Buffalo are feeling themselves. This might be risky, but all the while, Froggy was just tanking the tower shots. And now Saigon Buffalo, they're going for round 2 on Nagia. He goes for the knockup. Froggy gets taken down. Nagia flashing forward. He's not going to be able to proc the damage. 𝘁𝗀 survives. It's 2-for-1 for Saigon Buffalo in the top lane. And Saigon Buffalo, the game plan is really clear right now, Rebel. It's 𝘁𝗀.
And that's where the damage is. We talked about that. That's the only place that we can find damage in this entire composition. And so they're playing directly to that win condition. And so many times do we see Jace, where Jace receives like a gank or something in the early game, ends up getting like left alone. Sometimes even just like falls way behind because you have jungle pressure for the other side. And Saigon Buffalo just says, that is not happening. Froggy will TP off of a death in the mid lane, specifically to set up topside, right? And that is going to happen no matter what. They are willing to give up the remainder of their map just to make sure this is going to work.
The 3-man collapse on 𝘁𝗀. This time, Saigon Buffalo, they know what 𝘁𝗀 wants to do. They collapse on it, and they get the kill.
This is perhaps also the first matchup that we've actually seen where 𝘁𝗀 has had a champion who is supposed to be, at least on paper, somebody that is a counter to what it is that 𝘁𝗀 is running. In this particular case, the Trundle and this 𝘬𝗀 is so difficult to work with. And controlling this topside river is entirely pivotal to their success. And that's why the Trundle has to just be all around and ready to fight at any time. If you run a weaker jungler than what the 𝘬𝗀 is in the earlier stages, all of a sudden you can't push into the river. You can't actually fight for things unless you permanently immediately just have like Froggy latched to your hip for some reason. And in this one, they kind of have both because they've got the Twisted Fate and they've got the counter matchup in the jungle to make sure that they can control any river anywhere that they're going to be at for the entirety of the laning phase. All of this just to defend 𝘀𝗀. All of this just to make sure that they can defend the guy that they believe is going to be the person to step up alongside Shogun. So far, it's been okay. 15 CS advantage at 5 minutes, 2 kills, now 3 kills in his back pocket. That is a humongous change of pace from what we've seen at all from the side of Saigon. So much so that 𝘀𝗏 has actually come up here from bottom lane specifically to give support over to the Ornn.
And you said it in the drafting phase as well, Rebel. Saigon Buffalo play around their strength, which is strong laning phases. That's what they're doing right now. They're playing towards 𝘀𝗀, and this roam from 𝘀𝗏 is going to do absolutely nothing. 𝘀𝗀 is aware of the lane gank, or pardon me, the river gank that might be coming through from DNK, but he's not aware of stealth man 𝘀𝗏, who's stepping forward. Flash set is made. He's going to be able to find his mark. Wind becomes lightning. Tags on 𝘀𝗀. A great headbutt. The pulverize stops Nagia. 𝘀𝗀cie take a bow. That was incredible.
Oh my god, I have not seen that 𝘀𝗀cie come out since last split. Oh, are they going to be able to continue this too? I'm waiting for a pillar, but I think they already used it. Oh,
Rocky, he's got the gold card, he locks down the Forge Sword, and 𝘀𝗀 picks up the kill. 5-0 on the Jays within 7 minutes, and Team Secret's play goes completely down the drain.
It took a hot minute for that, like, a kind of response to come through. I don't know what it was about 𝘀𝗀cie. Something had rung the bell because 𝘀𝗏 did not show up back to bot lane. They were expecting something somewhere else on the map, and he's able to make this roam happen. And this is the 𝘀𝗀cie we've been wanting to see. In the spring split, I considered him the MVP. I thought he was the best support in the VCS.
Oh my God.
Significantly disrupts the first jump, disrupts the second jump. Huge play coming out from 𝘀𝗀cie, the support on the roam, the counter roam specifically to 𝘀𝗏 to defend 𝘀𝗀. This is the 4th person they've put up in the top lane to make sure that there is no response against this. This is incredible play coming out from SGB, defending somebody on the map, making sure there is positive play happening in one of their lanes.
Remember how in game 1 we said if Saigon Buffalo win this, they need to give 𝘀𝗀 a raise? Well, I think if Saigon Buffalo win this game, they need to give 𝘀𝗀cie a raise, because that is one of the best mechanical support plays I have ever seen.
Yeah, timed perfectly, the W and the Q. The roam timing on its own was perfectly timed as well. If he's a little bit later, that does not work. If he's a little bit earlier, they call that play off and they don't end up actually getting anything in return. It is a perfectly positioned 𝘀𝗀cie to be able to actually punish the engagement and keep his mid laner alive. Now, there's an argument to be made that that was, at least to some extent, perhaps an accident, just because he showed up at the right time. I prefer to think that 𝘀𝗀cie is instead just absolutely insane, and so I'm willing to take that bet and say that 𝘀𝗀cie is going to be getting at least one of my votes for one of the MVPs this game, because he well deserves it just for that play on its own.
Incredible. A 2K goal lead for Saigon Buffalo, and right now Eddie's saying, guys, this is the Aphelios composition. Why is there a 5-0 Jace in the top lane? I can't deal with this.
Yeah, there's... Was there vision somewhere? Okay, I think that was almost just an accident by 𝘀𝗏 to, like, E over the pit. I'm not sure if he was aiming for the dragon or what had actually just happened, but something like that. And they're trading dragon. I think it is Team Secret who says, okay, we're taking this Aphelios like you were talking about just a second ago, and they want to take it into team fighting phase. And the best way to do that is 2 things. Number 1, they want to control dragons to stall time for the Aphelios. And 2, if they control the dragon pit and they control dragon stacking in general, that means they can force team fights at the right situation when they want to force team fights. And so they're going to be willing to trade Rift Herald, probably the second Rift Herald as well, just for dragon pressure in this side of the map to ensure that's going to come through. The problem is, there's your top tower. It's gone. There's no top tower anymore. Nagia's got nowhere to farm, or the rest of the map is going to start to get burned down on by the side of 𝘀𝗀, who is just going to be able to walk around with what is probably a fully completed lethality item at this point in the game and just go nuts.
And Tia getting quite a few stacks in, and I feel like this is what Team Secret should have been doing before. Instead of looking to counter what happened in the top lane, they should have been playing around the bottom side. They should have been trying to get gold into Eddie, and it should have been, okay, 𝘀𝗀, you're going to get fed. Will you be able to beat Eddie when he's fed? But instead, they tried to counteract that top lane play, and, well, the rest is history, right?
Everything has come back to well, I'm in a position I can't wait to actually watch this interaction between the Jace and the Aphelios, especially this early in the game, because when that eclipse ends up getting done, when the monomoon gets done as well, that QE is going to hit Eddie like an absolute truck. I feel as though there's going to be a very early Guardian Angel just for the armor alone, let alone the revive passive, because the threat is legitimately going to be there on Hasmed. When was the last time you actually saw Jace get played into this hard? Like I said, I was mentioning this earlier, just like how hard that Jace usually does not actually get a bunch of resource. They usually expect it to kind of chill in the laning phase and then eventually scale up. When was the last time you legitimately witnessed this kind of pressure being put on from a team to make sure that their Jace was getting this far ahead, making sure that this champion had the golden resources it needed?
It was a long, I've not seen it before, not to my recollection. And this is a Jace, 10.5 minutes into the game, Eclipse. He's got the, the last Whisper item. He's got a tier with nearly 200 stacks and tier 1 boots. 𝘀cie does not get to play this game right now. And we said, okay, 𝘀cie, you're playing into a Jace, pick a tank. One of the questions I wanted to ask coming into this game is, should 𝘀cie have gone for a Camille because it was open, or does he go for this front line to give a bit of an extra appeal to Eddie? And, well, I don't know if the fact that the lane is going in this way is a testament to maybe Camille being better, but
no.
He's in a tough spot.
I think if you go for a carry in this composition, it gets bullied even harder, and you don't have the resources to sustain it. Whereas Ornn, I mean, you're picking up kind of, supplemental farm, whatever you can grab off the back end of, like, waves getting crashed again and again. All you really need as the Ornn is experience. As long as you get the ornaments up going, your late game is there. You have an ultimate button, you've got the ornaments, and you've got summoner spells to be able to use things like the exhaust, the flash, especially with the 𝘁𝗶𝗹𝗀𝗀. That's really the intention behind the Ornn. It's like, they don't really care if it gets gold. Yes, it'll get tanky pretty ambiently just from the gold and the items that they're going to get, but it's mostly a team fighter, and it's mostly just give the advanced scale force over to the side of Eddie.
5 kills to 2, a 3k gold lead for 𝘁𝗶𝗶𝗹𝘀. And for Team Secret, hope might be starting to wear thin. And right now, 𝘁𝗀 can't even go towards this 𝘁𝗏𝗀. Hasmed is going to be able to pick it up. 𝘁𝗀 looking towards the bottom side. It's a 2v1 play onto Eddie. Leona coming down. That's going to be the destiny. 𝘁𝗀 joining into the fray. Deadly flourish. And 𝘁𝗀's going to have to tank all of this. Even if he dies, they need to keep the 𝘁𝗶𝗺lius alive. 𝘁𝗀 ended up flashing and ended up dying in the process. But Eddie is still alive.
This is the aggressive kind of map movement and the early game planning that we expected from 𝘁𝗏𝗏𝗀, because this is what we saw from them the entire last split. It was not just like once or twice, this was not an accidental thing. This is what they did to win the majority of their games. They attacked really commonly. 𝘁𝗀 was out and about on the map. They broke 𝘁𝗀gy out. They got 𝘁𝗀gy involved with the majority of plays across the map, and this has been phenomenal to watch. It's like watching spring split 𝘁𝗏𝗏𝗀. This is the team that tested GAM in the finals. This is the team that beat Cerberus in the semifinals. This is the team of rookies that came from what was the Challenger Series and brought it all the way to a second place finish inside of Spring. And that's this is what we've been wanting. I'm hoping that this is indicative of how their play is changing for the better rather than just a one-off kind of experience. Because so far in the series, I mean, you talked about it, I know 𝘁𝗏𝗀𝗀's talked about it, they probably shouldn't even be here right now. The fact that they got a win in game number 1 was nothing short of a surprise, and I would argue that 9 games out of 10, with that same setup, they probably don't end up winning the game altogether. But here we are. We're in game number 3. They found a way to turn it around. They're up 3,000 gold, 3,500 gold. Their Jace is feeling fantastic, 2,000 gold ahead of anybody on the side of Team Secret, and they are nowhere near capable of taking or forcing a team fight in their favor.
And the win condition for Team Secret, or at least the win condition that they played around in games 1 and 2, 𝘁𝗀 getting ahead, 𝘁𝗀 being able to make magic happen. Well, sure, he's 26 CS ahead of 𝘁𝗀 at 14 minutes, which is rather impressive, but he's not far ahead enough to make stuff happen right now. We saw him get that brilliant first blood in the mid lane on to 𝘁𝗏𝗀, but aside from that, nothing else. We talked about at the start of this game. So far this series, Team Secret have looked way better than 𝘁𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗀, and my god, did 𝘁𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 not like that comment?
No, they did not. All right, I have a quiz for you, because you've given me quizzes pretty much all stream, so I have a quiz for you, because we're going to see it eventually. The ornament's going to come out. The upgrade's going to be there for Eddie. What's the name of the upgraded Gale Force?
Oh, I have no idea.
What do you mean? You have no idea.
I knew the old upgraded items. I don't know the new upgraded items. I
What
barely
do you
even
mean?
know
It's
that it's
been
called Gale
it's been
Force.
over a year. You barely know that it's called Gale. It's called Typhoon, by the way. That's the name of the
Typhoon.
upgraded item.
Like, you think I was going to remember Typhoon?
Typhoon? It's a storm. It's the same as Gale Force. It's just advanced.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Solar Flare flashed away by 𝘂𝗲𝗻. And you can see that Team Secret are doing their damnedest to try to shut down this Jace. That's a nice 550 goal shutdown. And if they can get that onto the hands of 𝘀cie, I think Team Secret will be happy with the game state. There's a teleport coming through. Jerry may be going in a little bit too early. 𝘁𝗏𝗺𝗀 will be able to find a one-man knock-up. In a 5v5 scenario, Team Secret secure the 𝘁𝗏𝗺, and now they make their way towards the mid lane, because 𝘂𝗏𝗶𝗹 are looking for the first mid lane tower of the game.
They're grabbing it. There's very little that can slow down this team at the moment.
Oh my god! Okay,
Oh.
someone's got to tank this.
Oh.
Oh,
We've seen those bullets curve before. That's why
Yeah.
we're like oohing and ahhing right there, because that looked a little dangerous at the very start end. But I mean, Nagia's ultimate's already down. Everybody's low on health. They could just turn for Rift Herald here if they really want to. I am curious if there's a re-engage to come out, especially if 𝘀cie can get there with the Moonlight Vigil. But honestly, at this point, it just does feel like Team Secret is really banking on their late game being everything here for their team, and they just have to get there somehow, because at the moment, Saigon is not, not pressing down, or they're pressing down the gas pedal and just not letting off whatsoever. They're putting on pressure everywhere. They won that dragon as well, which means that Team Secret doesn't even have the 2 dragons under their belt to work with. They snagged the Infernal Drake away to make sure that Team Secret doesn't have that stacking ability to force a team fight when they need to. And it is instead Saigon who's going to be snagging that one away just to make sure that they have control of the dragon pit.
Now a 5k goal lead for the side of 𝘂𝗏𝗶𝗹, and to be honest, Team Secret hopes are starting to dwindle. 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗹, surely they just have to play this slowly. They've got everything in control. We might even be seeing a 20-minute, or I should just say an on-spawn Baron being secured as well.
That would be interesting. There isn't really the damage from Saigon for that, unfortunately. They are not a Baron-taking team. They really are not. I guess Trundle actually isn't horrible. This isn't as bad as I was thinking, because, again, usually you go to what is their consistent damage, and surprisingly, I mean, Trundle's really good at it because of the W and the Q. What a pillar, actually, from 𝘁𝗀 just hit his stop key for a minute there to flex a little bit over the top of TS, who, I mean, they have 3 members there ready to go on to Shogun. And right now,
Jerry's just doing on the 𝘂𝗏𝗏.
yeah, Taki's getting the business from Jerry right now.
Okay, so 𝘂𝗲𝗻 is in the top lane, which means that Team Secret can fight, because all of the gold for the side of 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗹 is on 𝘂𝗻. So as long as 𝘂𝗻 isn't there, Team Secret are fine. Oh, DNK is forced to flash. That was a beautiful pillar. And, well, there was nowhere really for DNK to go. Curtain Call comes through. 𝘂1 forced to tank all of this. The 4th shot will land onto 𝘂1. 𝘁𝗏𝗺𝗀 comes through. But look at 𝘂𝗻. He's still pushing in the top lane. This is what we wanted to see from him on the Camille. But the side of Team Secret will engage. They will be able to find 1 kill. They will be able to pick up the mid lane outer tower. Is there any peel for DNK? No, not really. Now 𝘂1 going in, trying to peel very late. And in the end, he dies as well. Meanwhile, look at 𝘂𝗻. He doesn't care. He's just pushing.
He doesn't need to care. Like, there's 5 members in the mid lane. They aren't able to land a really cohesive one-shot engagement out of the Ornn ultimate or with anything else. 𝘁𝗀 going down was also just kind of a shred of miracle. The timing from Taki was almost perfect to deny that kill as well going over. And had they walked out of that situation with no kills, with that much top damage done by just 𝘂𝗲𝗻 on his own, would have been insane. This was a 5v4 underneath the tower in a 4-person. Best case scenario, you get this tower, you just walk away. DNK, after that pillar, was kind of thrown amok, and everything else had come through. It was a nice Moonlight Vigil. That could have been a really nice engage to come out, but everything kind of went awry. They were trying to, dance between both mid lane and heading top to answer 𝘂𝗲𝗻. They decide on the full ultimate, and then 𝘁𝗀 kind of got cut off with the Ornn ultimate, which is how he ended up going down off the back of an Everfrost. But again, timing was almost there from Taki to deny it. And again, this whole time, 𝘂𝗲𝗻, top lane, they don't care if this mid tower goes down. You were giving up way too much on the other side of the map, and then all of a sudden, everyone bails because the health bars aren't there for a couple of members, and it just leads to multiple members getting traded back. You end up losing far more than you ever could have possibly gotten out of that play from the side of Team Secret, as they are desperately trying to grasp for straws in a team fight that 𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗹 just does not want to give them.
𝘂𝗏𝗏𝗹 now pick up their 2nd Drake of the game. 𝘂𝗲𝗻 said, hey, my job pushing top lane is done. let me see what the pastures are looking like in the bottom lane. And 𝗀𝗀 says, hey, I've got this Rift Herald, that might help you push in. And I have a feeling this will be another inhibitor tower falling as well. Team Secret forced to back off. The Empowered Shock Blast almost connecting on to 𝘀𝗀. And 𝘀𝗀 now has the 𝘚lister ult to his name, and that can give a lot of tankiness to a 𝘚lice. Inhibitor tower taken down low, but not quite down and out.
No, 𝘀𝗀 got a nice little clip on that, but that's not too rough to actually have to deal with. And now you have the worst part of this composition, which is, of course, when Jace and Jhin are able to actually combine with one another and use this longer range poke into anybody on the opposite side. It's pretty immaculate. Right there, 𝘀𝗀gy was pushing in mid lane at the same time that the rest of his team was pushing bot. I was hoping they were going to be able to link that timer because it looked like they were going to force onto bottom lane as fast as possible. But again, this is playing directly into the composition strength of the side of TS if they go for a team fight around this bottom tower. So I kind of want to see Saigon just pull off of this and reset, go fix top wave, go fix mid wave as much as possible, keep them shoved in and ready for next dragon in what is 3.5 minutes time, not have to burn too much. As right now, it feels like they're posturing here for only negative. Like the best case scenario you get is probably the inhibitor off the back end of a solid fight in your favor, but you're risking so much by just being in this little corridor against an Ornn.
I feel really bad for Eddie as well, because he's played well. He's 1-0. He hasn't made any real mistakes, but it feels like almost a solo queue experience for him. He's like, who fed Shogun? Who beat this Jhin in lane and made him 3-0? Who made this Jace super fed and 5-0? And right now, all he can do is farm and just hope that the team can close that goal gap or just bring this game late enough such that that goal difference doesn't make, you know, a sizable impact in the game anymore.
Mm-hmm. We're in a place where Team Secret, I think Baron has to be a legitimate concern for them. They have a decently fast Baron, and they've got a good team fight. And baiting an objective like that is a huge way to try to pull Saigon apart, at least a little bit on the map. There is this massive struggle also that Jhin is now super strong and potentially in a really good place to assist in carrying a game. A Team Secret, they're also ways out from Ornn really getting towards the first ornaments in the entire game. I think one more level and maybe he gets his first upgrade, I believe, is where that timer comes from. So level 13 is when finally the upgrade's going to come through for Eddie to be able to get that Typhoon under his belt. But this is a really risky proposition. I don't know that the second item is going to be enough. The next dragon's going to be up in 2 minutes, and you certainly will not have the next item by that point. So it seems like on 5th dragon, 4th, the soul point potentially coming out from the side of Saigon Buffalo is where the only real shot is going to be for the side of Team Secret, barring a Baron engagement that kind of goes awry.
Okay, 𝘀𝗀's having a think about going in. Across so much damage. Zenith Blade comes through. Team Secret need to win the fight. Eddie has the red and white guns, but Pop goes with V1. He's going to be able to flash out. Ignite not enough. Moonlight Vigil finds a fair amount of damage. Shock Blast snipes down 𝘀𝗀. The fight will continue. Eddie is still full HP. Look how many stacks he has. He's going in. He can't find the damage on Hasbin. Flashing out. He's exhausted. Down goes Eddie. That was a win condition for Team Secret.
Oh, no.
And Secret will get swept. Saigon Buffalo win the fight, taking 4 kills for nothing, and Eddie came so close to greatness.
Eddie was, I mean, there were 2, 3, maybe even 4 health bars that were blinking from the side of Saigon Buffalo with the red-white combination. That 𝘁𝗶𝗹𝗀 or my apologies, that 𝘁𝗲𝗻 crescendum combination is incredibly horrible to deal with when that onslaught is on fleek and you got that number of chakram ready to go. But unfortunately, the CC was there and they were able to prevent him from really getting going with that auto attack trade. And you can see that. This is a really interesting arc because 𝘀𝗀's super low and Fee1's super low, and that's a good amount of your front line. Nagia is pretty much the only one left, and so what you're dealing with is just this little choke point that damage is getting thrown into constantly from everybody. And look at Eddie, he's trying as much as he can, but that's 𝘁𝗀 who finds another great headbutt pulverize and directly into the waiting arms of 𝘀𝗀 is the 𝘀𝗻𝗄, and no one else does damage. No one else is able to accomplish anything. The CC from the Fiona isn't there. They're poked out before the fight even begins. It is too hard to try to take that engagement unless you are the ones that are striking first, and right there, Saigon had complete control.
Despite how well Hasmed has been playing, I think 𝘁𝗀 is the MVP of this game. He's played so phenomenally well on the 𝘚lister. Destiny comes through, and that is the 𝘀𝗻𝗄 down, and I think that might be game as well. You could argue that Saigon Buffalo should have lost this series 2-0. Well, they won game 1, and in game 3, there is no doubt whatsoever over who the better team was. It's been a stomp from start to finish for 𝘁𝗁𝗵𝗀𝗀. One final play to secure the win. 𝘁𝗏 goes golden. Jerry's going to get taken down. So does 𝘁𝗏. 𝘁𝗏 engaging. Forced to flash back out. The two Nexus Towers are all that stands. And the two Nexus Towers will become one. 𝘁𝗁𝗵𝗀𝗀 on to the final tower. And on to the Nexus. 𝘁𝗀, he's just having fun at this point. 𝘁𝗁𝗵𝗀𝗀 pick up their third series of the split.
Extremely well played from the side of 𝘁𝗁𝗵𝗀𝗀, able to take this composition that was so dependent on their early game, and they force 𝘁𝗏 in, and they just like force gold into him as much as possible. Multiple kills, you had plays into top tower, top turret plates, everything like that. They're able to transition it into bottom lane, get Jhin going as well, and once that had come through, they have so much ability to control the health bars and the poke and everything about a fight that it was near impossible to get that full engagement. I don't think 𝘁𝗀 even ended up on a point where he was able to give the first ornaments over as well. So that deep and late game scaling that was being banked on from the side of Team Secret just never came close to culmination.
And 𝘀cie, you said as well coming into this game that the draft was better for Team Secret. But as Rebel said, if 𝘁𝗁𝗵𝗀𝗀 could get ahead early, which is what they did, they could just snowball it.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, no draft is truly completely unplayable. Obviously, every draft has win conditions. I said it was a terrible draft. I stand by that.
Yeah.
Because fact of the matter is, they had to get not just ahead in the early game, they had to get ridiculously ahead. Well, and they did. That was their out. I just don't think that's a very consistent out. 𝘁𝗀's not going to do what he did in that top lane every single game, but he did it this game. We love to see it. I think a lot of people will look at this game and go, oh, Team Secret, they're terrible, they're terrible. I don't think that's a fair analysis. I think 𝘁𝗁𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀 played incredibly well. And shockingly, when you play 20 times better than your opponent, you can win with any draft.
Is that a challenge? I want to make some wonky drafts now. Rebel, either way, for 𝘁𝗁𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀, this was a fantastic way to come back from what was a dominant game too for Team Secret.
I praise them about it because, again, it has been lacking severely since the beginning of the split. I know in week 1 they went 2-1. They were able to beat Flash. They were able to beat 𝘁𝗀്ce the Sky in a 2-3 game series as well. They lost to SBTC and they just didn't look like themselves. And that third game, or this third game here, it was the first instance where I was like, that's Saigon. That's what Saigon was supposed to look like. They have game planning. They understand what they're supposed to be doing. They execute on that game plan really quickly. 𝘁𝗀 is running the map. 𝘁𝗁's on a carry. He's able to do things kind of crazy. And 𝘁𝗀 is making plays. 𝘁𝗀 has not been making plays. 𝘁𝗀 is making plays. These were the important moments of things about this composition, things about this team that just have not been happening all split, that all finally came together. Again, I know it's not going to be permanent. I know they're not going to find this every single game, but I'm hoping that this is the first stepping stone towards them being able to find this far more consistently, find this on a regular basis.
Start of 𝘁𝗁𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀's climb to greatness. 𝘀cie, any final thoughts from yourself over on the series?
It's interesting because I don't look, is 𝘁𝗁𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 going to play that well every game? Is 𝘁𝗀 going to do things like that every game? No. But this was a return to form for them. They are meant to be one of the best teams in our league. Being pushed to the brink by Team Secret, well, this edition of Team Secret, is not what we want out of them. So this is good to see. 𝘁𝗁𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀 are beginning to restore my faith. And that's it's good because it makes our league much more competitive.
There you have it. We're going to be bringing this stream to a close. We'll be back tomorrow for 2 more series. Cerberus taking on Team Flash, followed by 𝘀𝗀 taking on SBTC Esports. For myself, 𝘀cie, Rebel Fox, and our wonderful producer, 𝘀𝗀. Thank you for tuning into the VCS English. We will be back tomorrow. Goodbye.